Thanks, Nathan.
It was like, oh, we can't hear you. Sorry. So welcome everybody. Thanks. I'm Nathan Erznosnik here with the Grace Frame out of the U.S. And we have Jared Cahoon, Grace Canada. Thank you for being with us. It's exciting to have you with us today, Jared. How are things going there with all the quilters up in Canada?
Oh, it is really good. I've had a lot of fun over the last couple of weeks. I was out visiting some quilters in Regina last week? And wow, it is a ton of fun. A lot of excitement about the Grace quilting products, and a lot of excitement for Christmas and getting their quilts done.
So a lot going on now. I'm guessing it's the same. You know, as we've been here in the U.S., we've been doing a 12 days of Christmas just here locally, which has been really fun. We've talked about some Christmas traditions. We've talked about the holiday. And I know part of what we'll be talking about today is the Boxing Day event that we have as well as part of the special, right?
Yep. So, yeah, why wait until after Christmas? Typically, Boxing Day, you might not know, Boxing Day is actually the day after Christmas, so it'll be a December 26th. But, you know, why wait? It's a shopping holiday, but why wait until after Christmas when you're busy with the family to get in on all those great shopping deals? Instead, let's bring those here before Christmas, and maybe you can get it before Christmas and have it under your tree.
Absolutely. Well, wonderful. We want to thank everybody for joining us, all those participants. Jared, there's been a lot going on up in Canada over this last year when it comes to quilting. You're placing a lot of orders and you're selling a lot of goods up there. And maybe really quick, before we get into the excitement about possibly what potentially you have available for Boxing Day, let's talk about part of today's agenda. And what I want to do is I just want to bring up on the screen here for us all to see. This is Grace Canada's website. So this is graceframe.ca. And I would encourage anybody watching this to go ahead and log on and see the different specials that they have, because this is what's going on today. But if you look and you land on the main page and you click on the deal, the Boxing Day event, it's going to bring you into this platform. Now, the reason I wanted to bring you in here is because there's a lot going on, and there are some free patterns. There are some wonderful things that we're going to do that kind of engage you with how to do a couple processes. We're going to talk about a couple fun projects and some wonderful products that might, not only might, but will make quilting a little bit easier. But I just want to kind of talk briefly about this, this website here. When you get here from graceframe.ca, you can notice on the left-hand side, you can see all the different events and the schedules. This is where you're going to see what we've got going on today. Let me click in here so everybody can kind of take a look. So this is right now where we've just opened this up, and let's go back here. It looks like, so what we're going to do is we have Carla and LJ that'll be coming on here shortly and sharing a little bit of a demonstration with the Cutie frame. I know we're going to be doing a couple giveaways. Is that right, Jared? We've got a couple giveaways scheduled for those people that are with us today as well.
Yeah, we got some really fun things set up to give away. So we're going to be giving away Well, we'll be giving away a few different things, over $2,000 worth of quilting products that'll help any quilter. So we're excited to be able to give those away. I'm not sure if we want to get into that now or if we want to talk about that in a little bit.
We can wait. Just keep a little anticipation. So it'll be fun when we have those people that kind of come on and join us, and hopefully your odds are going to be pretty high. I know that with Canada and your customer list as you're continuing to grow that, I think there's some better chances of winning today. So maybe to talk about that is I'm going to encourage anybody that's watching, if you're live, because we'll be pulling from part of these live events and from those people that, Jared, I think you have on your list that we can take a look at. But there's a comment section. So I have a couple different people here. And thanks for joining us. Robin Anderson, we're going to bring you right up. Thank you from South Carolina. Thank you for joining Boxing Day today. That's a fun thing here with up in Canada. But those of you that join, we would ask you, feel free to put some comments in there. You can comment on the event platform, on the Grace Canada event platform, or you can also comment if you're in Facebook or if you're in YouTube. Again, this is live today. It's Friday, the 10th of December. This year's gone by pretty quick, Jared. And I know, do you guys have any big events coming up or any big family traditions that you have here for the holidays that are in front of us?
Yeah, there's all kinds of fun things. For the holidays, it's always nice to get together with family. So for me, I'm going to be planning on getting together with my in-laws who are just around the corner, and I get the privilege of working with them. And then usually try and get in touch with some family members, because it's that season to get to know people and to get to know maybe people you haven't, family members you haven't seen in a while. With the restrictions for the public health orders and that kind of stuff across the country, I know a lot of people haven't had the chance to visit with family as much as they'd like. And yeah, it's going to be a good time with some lovely things. Trying to think of traditions. One tradition that I haven't done in a couple of years, but my mom was reminding me about it the other day, is just going around and seeing the Christmas lights. I've been living in a little condo in Edmonton, Alberta, and I didn't get to see a lot of Christmas lights, but I've recently moved to Red Deer, and I've already started to notice more and more Christmas lights in the suburbs. So I don't know, I'm pretty excited about that kind of stuff. Events. I'm trying to think if there's any events. We got some events coming up in the new year, but that's months away.
Yeah. Well, that's coming up. I think everybody might be thinking about, getting your New Year traditions, or your New Year goals getting ready here as the year's wrapping up. So, Jared, it sounds like there's some fun things. If you're joining us again, thanks for coming. If you're joining us live today, we are streaming live on the Grace Canada Facebook page, on the Grace Canada YouTube page. Make sure to go in there to the comments. I see a couple other people coming in. Here's a Lorraine. Paley is what I would say. Hello, good vibes. I'm hoping, and we appreciate that there are some good vibes coming. Thanks for being with us. Again, if you're joining us, go ahead and put a comment where you're coming from. Here's another one. This is a fun one here. Deborah Little. Hello from New Brunswick, Canada. My first time watching live. I have a Janome Skyline S9. Love it. Wonderful. That's great to hear, Deborah. You're going to hear a couple things that will also give you a chance to maybe enhance the way you use that S9 Janome. Wonderful machine. We love the brand. You're going to hear some fun things that we'll talk about here, in fact, coming up with the video. But let's just recap what's going to be going on. We're going to be going back and forth between the live conversations with Jared, myself, the comments that you're putting in to the notes here on the comment section to the right, usually. Really quickly, as we do this, know and understand, we also have a couple Grace Frame employees that are going to be responding and just answering directly, but just know that in the chats, we're not going to be asking for you to log on or to go to other websites. And please just know, as we've seen this here over the last few months, and really it's been increasing over the last couple of years, but there is people that are trying to fraudulently get you to come to other places or other sites. Right now, this is streaming live with Grace Canada. So Grace Frame Canada, which is an extension of Grace Frame here in the U.S. Jared, with part of what they have as part of, his family, his father-in-law and whatnot, to have continued to build an amazing company, an amazing brand with several dealers all throughout Canada. We'd encourage you to reach out, give them a call, log on to graceframe.ca, Grace Frame Canada. They have their 800 number. You can go ahead and leave a message. I'm not sure, Jared, how busy it's been, but hopefully the lines are open. But as we're going through this, reach out. You're going to find some really amazing deals. Let me bring this back up. This is the site that I would like to kind of just bring here in front of everybody. And what I wanted to show is where this comes from, where you get access to this at. So if you log on to graceframe.ca, this is the banner on the front. When you click on the banner, it does bring you into the platform. If you're on the Facebook or YouTube, if you want to know a little bit more on the details, you'll notice here that there is a shop more. This is tied to the current specials that they have running. There are some phenomenal Boxing Day event specials that are kind of, I believe, have been launched, but are exclusive to Grace Canada. So make sure to take a look at this, find out what those are. We'll talk about this a little bit more, but know that there's the specials. We're also going to have the videos that we have live now. You'll be able to access those, and there are a couple with some free patterns amongst a few other things. So we're hopefully giving you a little bit of a gift for being with us also, and we're going to be doing some giveaways. So those are just kind of some things I wanted to share at the basis, Jared, as we kind of get going. And again, as you come in, give us a little bit of a shout, say hello. Looks like we also have Karen, who's just joined us from British Columbia. Hello, Karen Ridge. Thank you for being with us. If you're joining us after the live, we would encourage you to watch through this. There's some wonderful content, some great product demonstrations. Jared, before we get in, because I really want to move into looking at part of a demonstration on the Cutie frame, but maybe just talk a little bit about the quilters that you're servicing. And I know that reaches all throughout Canada, but what have been some of the biggest struggles in finishing quilts? And then what have you found as being one of those new solutions, or what I love to call an accessory to their machines that has helped a lot of them start finishing quilts with less effort? Maybe share some of that with us.
Yeah, so when I visited with quilters across the country, there are some common things that come up again and again. When you're trying to quilt a large quilt on a domestic machine, you're pushing your fabric through. It's a lot of people talk about how hard it is on their body, how hard it is on their back and their shoulders. It's a big quilt and it's heavy. You have to move that around quite a bit. And then I also hear that it's hard to get the designs they want, right? With the walking foot on your the walking foot and the feed dogs on domestic sewing machines works really nice for doing straight lines, but they struggle getting those kind of nice free motion round sort of shapes that they want. And so those are a couple of things that people have been struggling with. Also, something that comes up pretty regularly is people wanting to have the stitches look really nice, where when you're having to balance using your foot pedal and moving the fabric, it can be difficult to make the stitches even and precise. And that's something that, again, as I talk to people more and that's at least two of the things that come up pretty regularly that people are looking for solutions for. And the Grace Company has been lovely to develop a couple of solutions for that. One of which being the quilting frames. Over the last couple of years, they had the Q-Zone hoop frame that came out a few years ago, and that was nice. A nice, 4.5 foot wide frame. You put your domestic sewing machine on it, and then we were very excited when Grace Company brought out the Cutie frame earlier this year. I think they announced it back in February. And that is a tabletop quilting frame. That's just a hoop. So now, instead of having to dedicate part of a quilter's, quilting room to a quilting frame, they can just take out their tabletop frame, set it up on their cutting table, take their sewing machine, put it right on top, and finish a quilt very quickly and easily. A lot more comfortable, especially with not having to now hold the whole weight of the quilt and move it around as they're doing their designs. And then a very new product that we've had a lot of excitement for here in Canada is the Surestitch Elite, which interfaces with someone's home sewing machine with kind of limited, compatibility with machines. Not every machine is compatible with it, but it lets you have a little touch screen. Now you can you can do your stitch regulation, and that makes all the stitching a lot more even and precise. You don't have to wonder if your stitches are going to be even. They're going to be even, which is really nice.
That is quite nice. So, wonderful description on part of what that is, Jared. Thanks for being with us again. We have a couple more people that continue to join us as this live stream goes along. Jared was talking about the Cutie tabletop frame. And Jared, let's do this really quick. I wanted to go ahead and Well, let's do this. I want to show a video that we have. Laurel Jane, Laurel here at Grace US did part of a video with Carla. And we wanted to show you that because it talks about the experience that you might be able to have in finishing your quilts. Now, think about this, and I want everybody to kind of think as we go through this Boxing Day event, what we're trying to do is give you some insights. I know there's struggles and challenges that a lot of you have in finishing quilts. I know, I hear this. We talk with you. We not talk with you only through Canada, but all of the US and around the globe. We know that these are underlying challenges that quilters have. Now, one, think about this. I'm curious to know, and if you have anything in your comment, give me a number. How many quilts might you have unfinished at home? We've had people, so throw that in the chat. Is it 1? Is it 5? Is it 10? We've had people with up to 50. Now that is a lot. Yes, we understand. But think about this. You have those quilts, or there might be something for the season. And right now you're like, hey, I would love to go ahead and finish this quilt. But you're finding that there's the struggles and the challenges, like moving the fabric, pulling it, puddling it, shifting it. And not only that, but when you're moving it within the thread of your machine, it's actually upside down and backwards. So there are a lot of these complications. When you think of quilting machines, or you start thinking about mid arms or long arms, one of the biggest challenges come up is space. And there's two big options. Space and cost are some of those biggest challenges that everybody faces if you're looking to finish quilts. Well, it's really amazing. There are some accessories, and you're going to see this, and it is available starting today for a special price with Canada for their Boxing Day event, where you now have a portable tabletop quilter. It can convert literally your domestic machine. We had, let me see here again really quick. I wanted to jump back up here. Oh, who was it we had that had the S9 here from Genome? We've got a lot of comments going on, but it can convert like that S9 into a domestic. You might have a Bernina, you might have a Brother, you might have a Pfaff or a Viking or a Juki or a Genome. Those domestic machines will sit on the trolley, and literally you can now glide them easily over the surface of your quilts. No limit to the size, up to king size, and all this can be done on a portable system that can be put on your table. It can be put on a portable table. It can be put on your kitchen counter. When you're done, you can go ahead and store it. So Jared, with that, let me go ahead and bring this video in, and then I'll have a couple other Grace employees be joining me here as well as we go through this. Things are busy, as you know. You're at home. You're probably getting ready. Jared, as you mentioned, there might be a couple challenges with the travel restrictions. We hope you get to reach out through phones or maybe a couple of video chats with the loved ones during this holiday season. I'm going to wish you well. We know that that's been a little bit of a challenge. So thanks for being with us digitally today. But here we go. I'm going to go ahead and bring this on, Jared, and we're going to go ahead and play and hear a little bit from Carla and LJ regarding the Cutie tabletop frame.
Awesome.
Welcome everyone, I'm Carla Jerome. This is Laurel, and I get to show Laurel how to use this fabulous little Cutie frame. First of all, it's very easy to put together. It is a solid little frame. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to vibrate off the table. So no need to worry about what surface you're really doing it on. You just want the table to be nice and level. You could even use it on your countertop, in your RV. It's just such a nice portable frame. Now, Laurel, that you've put it together, just make sure that you can move the carriage side to side, front to back freely. After you've set your machine on the frame, the height of this pole here is called a take-up pole because it takes up all your quilt after you've quilted. A good rule of thumb is to put your hand underneath with it laying flat, and you can tell it just barely hits, and so it's the perfect height right underneath here. So then, just coming and looking at this, you want to make sure that this pole, see how it kind of angles down just a little bit? Just make sure that it's even right underneath here. So to put your hand right across here and kind of tell. Okay. Let's talk about the sewing machine. These right here, these are called feet dogs. They grab the fabric and kind of push it along as you're piecing or sewing. Okay. These need to be down so you have a smooth surface. Gotcha. To move your quilt through. The other thing is the foot that you use. You need an embroidery foot or a quilting foot, something that makes it easy for you to glide across. You just want a smooth foot that you can easily see. Then the other thing is bobbins. I like to wind several bobbins before I start so that I don't have to stop in the middle of it. So look at your project and decide how much quilting you want on it and kind of guesstimate how many bobbins. Let's talk about preparing our piece quilt for quilting. If you're going to piece your back, just make sure that you've ironed it and pieced it correctly. So we're going to lay our piece backing, and I have gone and found my center of my backing, the top, and I've marked it with the pen, and the center with the bottom. So this will help me line up my batting. And I found the center of my batting as well, top and bottom. And I pinned it to my backing. And then I just pinned the sides. So now all I have to do is line up my pins, and I can just move it over and line it up. And that's all we have to do. Let's talk about leaders. I have a few inches on the top and a few inches on the bottom. The leaders are an extension of your fabric. If you don't have them, you will need to make your backing that much wider and that much longer. One leader, it's got cording in it to help you start rolling it up. You'll find the center of your leader. I'm going to just take my pencil here, or my pen, and just mark it. And I write a C for center. I'm just going to take my leader, and I'm going to line my backing up all of my pins, and I can take one pin and just pin straight across. And I'm just going to do that all the way across my top. And so we'll quickly do that. And the same thing that I do at the top, I'll do with the bottom. You'll just pin it straight across. And you'll always pin from the center out. And the reason is if you get a wrinkle or anything like that, you're pulling it from the center out so that you can adjust. Now this leader is quite a bit longer, and that's for your larger size quilts. So don't cut it down. It's not going to inhibit you in any way. It's just going to help you. You do the same thing with the bottom one. And the bottom one's even wider. So as you get to the end of your quilt, the leaders allow you to quilt all the way to the edge of your beautiful quilt that you've created. If you didn't have them, you'd have to cut a portion of it off because you couldn't sew because it'd be wrapped up over the pole. And I have a couple of sets because I get bored with my quilts, and so I like to jump from one project to another. So sometimes it's nice to have two sets. And with these frames, you can take them on and off and start on something new. We're going to slide our leader through the arm of our machine and adjust it to start quilting. We want to make sure we're putting our backing and our batting and everything under the foot. One thing I want you to notice, your carriage and your machine will only go so far before it hits the sides. So if you move your machine all the way to the side, you can notice that eventually your machine and your carriage will hit the side of the frame. And we don't want that to disrupt our quilting, okay? So I'm going to adjust my starting side out of way so that as I'm starting, I'm not going to hit. I'm going to move it all the way down. But I want to make sure that I can quilt this edge, okay, without it hitting.
Okay.
And now we can start putting our clamps on. And you want to adjust it also so that you can start right on this edge. So you can pull the batting up just a little bit. And so bring your machine out where it's going to start. See, we have that much area. So let's pull it up just a tad more. And there we go.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll put my needle in the down position. So what I like to do now is make sure my back has no wrinkles in it.
Okay.
And so I like to just pull it. And then sometimes I'll baste across the top edge to hold my quilt in place as well. So we'll have you do that in just a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to now put on our two bottom clamps. Okay, and they go on a specific way. So you look at the name right here. This name has to be showing correctly, and we want to take these up off.
So facing you.
Yeah, facing you.
Cutie, like I read it.
Yeah, so the cutie needs to be facing so you can read it, not upside down, okay? And as you clamp it on, and clamp it down. And it comes with two side clips, so you can put them on. And it comes with two side leaders also, so you could clamp that on and pin it so you get extra tension. And helps keep it nice and straight. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull our quilt out and we're going to start rolling it up. And you can look at your wrinkles on the back as you're rolling. I've got one right here. Just pull it out from the center out, just like you would on a rolling frame. And just keep rolling. Now we're just going to clamp it. Let's start rolling this on, and we can clamp this as well. And make sure you're counting all your little clamps, because if you leave one undone, you'll notice it and feel it. Okay. With this frame, you can sit or stand. If you're using a machine that requires a foot pedal, you will want to sit. So I'm going to have you sit down. You want to make sure that your machine is threaded correctly. And so make sure that you have the thread pulled through your tension knob and through the spring so that you get that tension. But right now, you can tell that as I pull this, how easy it is to pull. Oh, that's because your presser foot, which is this foot right here, and this is the presser foot lever, isn't down. Once I put the presser foot down, you can feel that tension. And so you need to remember to put the presser foot down. Otherwise, you're going to have really loose tension, and your thread's going to look like shag carpet underneath, and you don't want that. Once you have the presser foot down, you want to make sure that you bring your bottom thread up. So find the needle up, needle down button on your machine, and it'll go down, and then push it one more time, and it brings the needle back up. Now, if you'll just barely move your machine away, see how it's going to pull up that bottom thread?
Okay. Yeah, the loop.
So that you don't have any of those thread tails underneath, okay?
Okay.
So you just pull that up. One other thing I want to point out is we want to tack down the edges of our quilt, just in case we sew off the edge. Notice that my foot is underneath my quilt, so if I sew off the edge and I start coming back, it's going to grab that quilt and make a wrinkle in it, and it can even tear your quilt. So what we're going to do is move the machine down as far as we can. We're going to lift up the presser foot just a little bit, put it on that wide area right there, because it doesn't matter how straight it is. I'm going to cover this with my binding. So when you're pushing down on the foot pedal, if you push too slowly, the machine's just going to barely start revving up and start moving, just like with a car.
Okay.
And so you want to make sure that you give it enough acceleration so that as you're pushing it, your stitches look decent. And you're going to go up to this corner and go across as far as you can reach.
Okay.
Okay, now start going across. See how easy that is? There we go. Now you hit the back. So now you can hit that thread cutter if you want. There you go. So now we've tacked down our quilt. Laura, do you feel comfortable just jumping in? I've drawn the design on for you and start to quilt, or do you want to practice first?
I've never really done this before, so let me practice.
So practicing to get the motor skills and the thought process is really important to free motion quilting. So just take some time. We got our paper here.
Okay.
And Laurel has her pencil. You could maybe kind of draw the design through the paper, and it doesn't have to be exact. It's just to learn the motion so that you understand it before you start quilting. Take a piece of paper, lay it over the fabric, and just trace an outline of them so that you can understand the proportion and how far up and how far down to move.
We'll start with just that.
Yeah. Okay. So just move it off to the side here and just see what I've done. So you're just going to start up there, and you just start with this one right here.
So just
and just go up, down. It's really easy. I chose really simple, easy designs to start out with. But even the simple, basic designs like up, down movements make your quilt that much prettier.
Yeah, well, this is good for me because like I said, I've never really done this before, so
all you do.
Simple's good.
And then when you feel comfortable, then we'll just start. Yeah.
Okay, I think I got a good idea.
All right, I've taken a chalk pencil, and in the star area, I thought it'd just be fun to just do a nice little long loop. One other thing I want to point out, with the hoop frame, because you have covered up most of your area, you don't know when you're going to be coming close to the end to hit it. Yeah. So we'll take a little piece of tape, move my machine down here, and we're going to mark it just inside this area. This block right here is as far as we can move. Now the front. You know that you're not going to have enough area to quilt this block here or part of this block, okay? So we're going to have to just focus on this area up here, and then we'll shift it so you can do this whole block all at once. So you're just going to focus on this top row, and you remember how to pull your thread up?
Yes.
Take a deep breath. And start out slow, and you'll get very comfortable, and then just enjoy.
Okay, well, let's go for it.
There you go. Good job. And you don't have to stay right on the lines. Just nice and smooth. Yeah. It's fun, isn't it?
Yes.
There's your first one.
Boom. Okay, I got this.
Yes, she did. She has it.
Okay, let's try just a little bit of this one.
Okay.
I'm just gonna start right here.
Uh-huh. There you go. Nice. See, she's getting more confidence, so she's going a little faster, just like your learner's permit.
Yes.
There you go.
Awesome. Look at that. I can totally do this.
Yes, you can. We knew that all along. So now while we've got Laurel quilting, I'm going to talk to you about the different machines that this Cutie frame can accommodate. Up to a 19-inch machine. So you can put the 15M, the 15R, the 15 Pro, or the 19-inch machine on this frame. And what's nice about it is this piece right here extends out, so it can give you more quilting surface for you to quilt. Another nice feature is you can add automation to it. You are not limited to the way you want to quilt. If you are not comfortable with the free motion quilting, you can add automation and have it do the quilting for you. It's just a fabulous frame. It is for anybody and everybody. If you need a second frame and you like to quilt on the go, this is the frame for you, because you can fold it up, put it away, and store it and get it back out. If you're a seasonal quilter and you have a second home and you need a quilting frame, hey, this is good for you. Somebody who's in assisted living who wants to keep doing what they love, this is the frame for you. And you saw with Laurel, man, she's going for it. She is a quilter now. And are you liking it, Laurel?
Yeah. I just want to keep going.
Laurel has finished up everything that she could quilt and as far out as she could quilt. And so now she gets to shift the quilt to finish up the next section. So that's what we're going to do right now. When you're rolling or when you're shifting, you don't want to roll it up all the way past so that you have a space in between as you're quilting. So you want to leave a little bit of what you quilted showing. So maybe about a ½ an inch.
Okay.
We'll just shift it down this way. And we'll just lock it into place and you can finish up and then we'll roll it up.
Okay.
Let's lock all these in place first.
Okay.
I always like to lock these in place so I can get the wrinkles out. All right, and let's just pull this up. Kind of pull it out like that.
Oh, yeah.
And put it on. And then we'll just lock it into place. She's going to just finish this next section, and then we're going to shift it and start rolling so that she can finish this. And then I'm just going to come around here. And with your leader claws, you get a little leader to hold right here, but I'm just going to hold it.
Okay, I think I'll tack it down really quick.
There you go. There you go. Nice. Right there. There you go.
Okay. Come in and do these sections.
All right, she's just got a few more to do. And see how quickly she's mastered using her domestic machine and the design. It really does help to draw your design in your blocks. And she's mastered the foot pedal, thread cutter really well. feel like you're kind of in your groove. You've got your rhythm.
Yeah,
you
just
know
keep
what you're
going.
doing. It's,
Yes.
it's comfortable now.
Yes.
All right. What we're going to do is unclamp and we're going to adjust it so it's up just a little bit, okay? Take these off. And this cording on this leader cloth just helps to make it a little easier for you to start rolling your quilt. Let's move the machine over here and make sure that we have enough room that we can quilt this.
Okay.
And so that's what we want to do. And because when we put our clamps on, let's put this clamp on first, and let's see where it lands. Okay, that's pretty close, and we're going to hit the back there. So we don't want to, and we can't even quilt the whole design.
Okay.
So we know we've done it too far, but that's what I'll do is I'll sit there and I'll adjust one end.
Okay.
That way it's easier to line up all the way down the quilt.
Gotcha.
Okay, there we go.
So then you can see.
Can we? Yeah, we can. Close.
Okay.
All right.
I was going to say, even just doing this little bit of section, I really like the domestic machine because I think it's a good starting point. But I find myself wishing I had a bigger throat space just because already I could have stitched maybe this whole section.
Right. We'll just put this on and pull it as well. So let's just pull this section right here. And I'll let you put this one on. Quickly roll it up.
Let's pull up the chair.
Remember, we need to mark so that you don't hit the edges, okay?
Okay.
So you can take your existing piece, then let's move it down this direction. Let's figure out how far we can do it. Oh, right there, that's almost perfect. So you're just gonna stop right there, okay?
Okay.
Nice job.
Awesome.
Laurel has mastered quilting.
Yes.
So Laurel, this is your very first time machine quilting using the little Cutie tabletop fabric frame.
Yes.
So, was it easy?
Yes. Oh, yes. It was way easier than I thought it was going to be. It was super easy to get the hang of, to be able to just hook it on.
Could you go home and do it by yourself?
Oh, yeah.
If I wasn't there to coax you along
Yes.
and help you, and did you enjoy it?
Yes, I already want to keep going. I just want to keep doing the whole thing.
She's going to keep going. So thank you for joining us, and we hope you've learned a few things and purchase your Cutie tabletop fabric frame today.
Okay, well, Jared, that was a pretty good demonstration, don't you think? And look who we have with us today. Let's go back to this one here. There we go. We have LJ, Laurel, here with us from Grace, US. So thanks for joining us today.
Yes, I'm super excited to be here, and I am super excited to talk with you guys about that Cutie frame, because I think even now, when I did that video, I go back and watch, I'm like, yeah, it really was that easy.
There's quite a few things with that. So thanks for those who are joining us and sticking with us as we're doing some of these different live presentations. LJ, I want to get into some Q&As regarding
absolutely.
that. We had a couple people ask. And one of those questions was, and I know this is a little bit of a bigger question, but Grace Company, we do what we call computer automation. It's called Quilter's Creative Touch. And that system does work with several domestic machines if they can be stitch regulated. But one of the questions is, can you do computer automation on the Cutie frame?
Absolutely, you can. The Cutie frame is actually, I think, kind of a very unique frame because it doesn't take up much space, but the possibilities of what you can do with it are pretty much limitless, because if you want, you can do free motion, pantographs. Nathan had also mentioned that automation. You absolutely can use that on the Cutie frame.
Yeah, so that's a great one. By the way, just a quick comment coming your way, and I thought you'd like this one. This is just from Robin Anderson, who's
my T-shirt. Yeah. Oh, look, this is. I gotta point this out. Okay, if we're gonna do it, we gotta point out the shirt. This is pretty snazzy because you can actually change the one I'm on. So now I'm on the nice list, or now I'm on the naughty list, and I don't know why, but I kind of like to keep it on the naughty.
All right, well, there you go. Being on the naughty list. Thank you, Robin, for that comment. Another one would be, and maybe Jared, we can go to you on this one. Have you found, or have you had any stories? And if not, we can come back to LG, because I know with you being on the phone, people bring this in. Have there been people who've decided to buy this, not just because of price, but now because it reduces or it's eliminated their space challenges? So that would be my question, Jared. I'd be curious to hear what you kind of have to say and what you've heard from that perspective.
I haven't had a lot of people comment on that specifically, but I do know a lot of quilters who are snowbirds. So they live in Canada during the lovely months, and then they travel down to Mexico or Arizona. And it's one of the challenges they have is that they can't take their big quilting frame with them. But the Cutie frame would actually fit in an RV to let them head down there. But no, I haven't had a lot of feedback to how that fixes that particular problem. But maybe it's just I haven't talked to those customers.
All right, LJ, why don't you go ahead and share a little bit as well, because I know you have a chance to talk with several customers. And I know this because I've seen Facebook groups and many others.
Yes.
I've had them personally tell me. What is your story been? What have you had them tell you?
Yeah. Well, it absolutely is wonderful if you don't have space. And actually, there's this, we went down to Houston. We went to the quilt show there, and it was actually really sweet. I got to talk to actually quite a few different ladies that actually had taken a bus. I can't remember quite where from, but it was like a whole bus full of ladies that had come over, and they're like, oh, what is this? They're like, is this the Cutie? They're like, what? I can travel with this? And so it was super neat to see, because they actually, literally, they're like, wait, you're saying that I can do what I just did and take the Cutie with me? And so it was super fun. One lady in particular I talked to actually had a quilting retreat. I think it was in a month or so from when we had that. And so she's like, oh, guess what? I'm going to take this to my quilting retreat. And so she did. She actually sent me an email the other day. She's like, guess what? I took my Cutie to my quilting retreat. And so it was super cool to see that really you absolutely can take this frame anywhere.
Thanks. I do know that that's the case. And this is not just for those in Canada. It's not just for those in the US. This has been around the globe, actually.
Absolutely.
There's been people all over the place. Space is one of those biggest challenges. Right now, picture your sewing room. Most likely it has not just one machine. It might have two. You might have a serger. You have a cutting station or a place that you're trying to use or you wish that you did. So now to go ahead and move all of that and to shift it just to go ahead and find a dedicated place for frame, a lot of people don't have that. So with that, Jared, I'm going to bring this up as well. This is a fun thing to look at. We like talking about these 4 things that it really solves. And I know it's a little small. We'll just talk about these briefly. One is it works with your domestic machine at home. And so, Jared, I think this is a fun thing to look at. This is your website. So if you go to graceframe.ca and you go to the Cutie under frames, you can find this type of information. So the first thing we talk about is that you can use your own home machine. I love talking with Carla because we all know that we love our machines, and we always talk about, oh, if your kids come up or to touch you, like, hey, because we love that. But one of the things that's nice is you can actually use just what you already have at home to begin quilting. Yeah. You need to be able to lower the feed dogs so that they're not engaging, because when we free motion quilt, we want to glide that over the top. And we would also recommend people want to, well, how big or how small of a machine would you say needs to be on this? I like to talk about the fact that if you have like a 7-inch throat, what that means is from the needle to the back of there, as long as you're 7 or larger. A lot of them today are 9. We have 10 and 12 inches, and there's a couple 13s out there. But if you're going to use this, we'd recommend having at least 7. Now, people might say that's small, Nathan. It is, but here's the thing: is right now, if you've tried to finish a quilt, most likely you're going to say, yes, I have, and I just did straight lines. And the reason it's a straight line is because all you can do is push fabric through it. So one of the nice things about the Cutie is by allowing the frame to hold and manage the fabric, it literally solves the fabric management challenges, and it does give you the handlebars. And so instead of trying to move and push it, you can move it around.
Yeah, I actually just talked to someone the other day, and I guess I never really thought about this before. She said she's done, a couple quilts like that. It's usually straight lines because that's all they can, really do when it comes to managing the fabric. And they said, oh, I gotten through my beautiful quilt, and then they go flip it over, and then on the back they had gotten folded. And they're like, oh, like they had it just like heartbreaking, right? You had done your beautiful quilt, had finally gotten through it, and then just found that little like fold in the back. So she's like, I had to go unpick it. So she called in, and she was looking at Cutie Frame. She's like, is this going to solve the problem? I was like, absolutely. And so she, I'm hoping to give her a call here a little bit and see, how she's doing that. But I think absolutely it can solve that problem with the fabric management.
Wonderful. With that, I did have this. I'm going to bring this comment up from Deborah now. And the reason I want to bring this up is the Cutie is an option, and there are other options. This is actually just the least expensive option, and it's the portable. It's the option that can be stowed. The question is from Deborah Little here. I'll just read it. It says, if the handles were above the frame instead of below it, you don't have to roll the fabric as much each time. That is absolutely true. But one of the things is this is going for flexibility in the price. And so it does actually have the bungees that hold the fabric up on the top. So there's a little bit more fabric management, but that's what life is finding conveniences. And if you have a little bit of a higher budget for about, we'll go look at this on the Grace Canada site as well, but you can just pay some additional for a fully fixed frame that actually has the handlebars on top of it. So Jared, we'll come back to you in just a minute to talk through some of those prices, but there's an option that you have in Canada that is a fixed frame. It is dedicated. It does have the legs, and we actually have two options on those frames that you can look at. So know that that is an option. They're just a little bit more money. And that's how it always is. What you'll find out is that there's two types of customers when they start getting into quilting. And this is true. And I've been with the business for over 16 years, and I have seen this variation. You're going to be either quilter A, who will buy one of these accessories or these tools, and you're going to start to use it, and you're not going to use it a whole lot. You'll do 1 or 2 quilts a year, maybe 3, and it works perfectly for you. Now, how do I know that? Because I have met several quilters who have bought actually one of our larger frames that still was using their domestic machine years ago. And I'll get with them. I'm like, hey, you can get a bigger machine. And they're like, nah, I'm good. I use it every now and then. I love using my domestic machine. It works well. Jared mentioned earlier, a popular item is that stitch regulator. You can stitch regulate many of the machines. Call Jared and his team up there. You can find out if your machine's compatible. But then quilter number 2, what quilter number 2 is the person that starts to use this, and they're like, wow, this is free. It's like drawing, right? Like moving your hand. And that was your video. You're like, whoa, this was pretty easy.
It is. I'm not gonna lie, in the video, I was kind of going, and Carly, not really, but she's kind of like, so let's move on. I'm like, oh yeah, you just get kind of carried away with it, because it really is just like drawing, and just is so easy. You don't have to manage that fabric. It's really, really nice.
So with that, then what we find is that they're engaging more. They want the convenience. They're like, hey, I would rather quilt more at one time. I want to have less fabric management. So one of two things happens. You either go and you get a bigger machine. So that's like our 15, or you might get into the 19. The nice thing about the Cutie and what Grace Company does is you can actually keep what you start and build and add on to it. So you don't have to replace the entire system. If you start with the Cutie, if you start with one of the hoop frames, if you start with one of the other larger frames with your domestic machines, you can keep those as a foundation and add a 15 or add a 19-inch machine to those as well. And so you don't have to reinvest in the whole thing. You can just simply kind of upgrade. And that includes the computer automation. Not a lot of people do automation with the domestic, but if you buy automation, it works with your domestics. Again, check for compatibility, but it will work with all of our machines clear up to our professional 21-inch machine. So those are some fun things. So I just wanted to bring that out. Let me quickly go back to the screen just so we can take a look at this screen here. The other thing that we talk about is space saving. That's the number one thing that this really brings. Number 2 is the affordability. It is absolutely, this is not a question, the most affordable way to get into quilting as with an accessory like this, to convert your domestic machine over. And the other thing we love talking about is there's no boundaries. You're not limited to throws or wall hangings or baby quilts or twins, cribs or twins or queens. You can do up to king and in fact bigger because of the process that is utilized while doing that. So I just kind of wanted to bring those things up. Jared, I'm going to go ahead and bring on screen, if you're okay here, the pricing. And I would like to maybe have you share with us some of the specials you have going on, and then how people might contact you regarding those premium promotions that are there. So let me bring that back up here. Give me just a minute.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, that's the one I'm looking for. Excellent. Perfect. So we've got to the Cutie frame, which is on sale.
So there you go, Jared. Why don't you share a little bit? I'm going to kind of talk here from the top. This looks like this is the Cutie tabletop, and the Q's on a hoop frame. And as I'll go, I'll just kind of slowly move down here. Yep. You can share a little bit more with us.
Yeah. So the Cutie frame tabletop frame is on sale, and that is what, $400 off? Yeah, $400 off, which is just a steal. Under $1,000, you can get a complete quilting frame. All you need to do is add your home sewing machine to it. So just a wonderful option. Like Nathan was saying earlier, if you want a little less fabric management without having to roll the front part of your quilt, the front part of the fabric in front of the frame, you could go with a Q-Zone hoop frame, which is only is that $400 more than the Cutie tabletop frame, and it comes with all the clips and all the bungees you'll need, as well as with the handles for your home sewing machine to fit on. Coming down a little bit more, we've got the Q-Zone Queen Frame and the Q-Zone Hoop Frame Pro. The Q-Zone Hoop Frame Pro is just like the Q-Zone Hoop Frame, except it's got a dual track system, which adds some additional stability and some extra comfort when you're quilting, as well as a hard tabletop table insert in the back, which is really nice if you're going to do paper pantographs. The other frame we have here is our Q-Zone Queen Frame, and the Q-Zone Queen Frame is not like the Hoop Frame or the Q-Zone Hoop Frame Pro, or the Cutie Frame, which are all hoop style. Instead, the Q-Zone Queen Frame is a roller frame. So you'll actually you'll attach your fabric to the rollers, and you'll roll it onto the frame there. So you will be limited. You can only do fabric that fits on those rollers, and that's why it's called a queen frame, because you can fit a queen size quilt on it. Also great for a home sewing machine. Typically, I'd say if you're going to go for a Q-Zone Queen Frame, though, you're going to want to see if you can get a stitch regulator, because it can be kind of difficult to get your foot pedal around the center leg of that frame. Got our mix and match Unique 15s. We got 3 different models of the Unique 15, the 15M, which is just a manual only, no stitch regulation. And we've got it comboed there together with a bunch of those great quilting frames from up above. The 15R, which is a regulated version. So it's going to have the stitch regulator that makes all the stitches the same size. Even if you move quickly or slowly, the stitches stay the same size. The 15 Pro, which adds a touch screen and some extra functionality. And again, still comboed with those amazing frames up at the top of the page. And then we get into the kind of larger machines, the Unique 19, which comes with a great accessory kit. Accessory kit's worth over $1,500. And the machine, the frame is on sale. You can pair that with any of our frames. The 19 is a really nice machine for that, including our Continuum professional frame. And then if we scroll down, we got our Unique 21R, which the Grace Company has had out for a few years and has just a really lovely machine. And the Unique 21 Pro, which came out about 18 months ago, summer last year, and has just been fabulous. People have loved the Unique 21 Pro. It's got a great big touch screen, and all the functions you think you'll want, they just happen to be there. Every time you go looking, hey, it would be really nice if it would, there it is, right there at your fingertips.
Thanks. We really appreciate that. Let me make sure we're good there. Thanks for explaining and talking through all those wonderful details. Again, what I wanted to do, those that are streaming with us right now, Jared, I would like to see about doing a giveaway, and then we're going to get into Carla. She does a tree skirt, and again, there will be access to a free pattern for this back on the Grace platform. But let me just bring that up here really quick. As we were looking at, we were talking about some of those promotions. Well, where those are found on the Grace Canada website. So let me kind of go back here. And if you go to the main website, one is you can just access those from this front landing page. There is an option just on the next one that talks about all those sales. However, if you want to come into part of the Boxing Day event and have access to what we'll see next, which is one of the giveaways, one of the free patterns that we have as an option. This is Carla. She's doing a tree skirt. It was a fantastic project, and you'll have access to others. This is a free pattern download that you can have. Maybe you just put your Christmas tree up. I think that's a lot of people do that here just over the last week. You might already have it. If you might already have one, this might be a fun gift for somebody else, even just as a free pattern. So we'll do that. We're going to talk about, but you can come to this website and you can find that underneath the event and workshops. There'll be a link that will click to the video, and underneath it is the pattern you can download. So, Jared, I thought I'd just kind of point that out really quick as well. And then with that, I wanted to go ahead, Jared, and see if you wouldn't mind deciding what we'd want to give away. And we'll go ahead and we can choose one of our local, one of the people that is streaming with us. And if you're streaming, hello, thank you. very much. It's I can see a lot of people are asking questions. They're getting answered. We do have some people here from Grace Company that are on helping answer those. But Jared, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you'd like to do as far as the giveaways. What the first one would be, let's do one for those people that are live with us.
Yeah.
And say thanks for coming out and being with us. And then we'll get into the tree skirt and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So I think I'd like to, if it's okay, I'd love to give away a 10-foot luminous light bar, if that's an option. It's a lovely LED light stand. It goes up over your quilting frame or over all kinds of things. I've thought of getting one for like a workbench or a cutting table, just to provide a nice light. It's so hard to get good light, especially when I see so many quilters who are forced to quilt in the basement because that's the only room big enough. So it's nice to have that bright, true white LED lights, and it's a fantastic value. I think they retail for $7.99.95 Canadian, and so I'd love to have a chance to give one of those away if that's an option.
So what I would say is absolutely, Jared. You're good to give away whatever you're wanting to give away. We're helping sponsor part of this with Jared, so that sounds like fantastic. So looking at doing that as a 10-foot light bar. Now that can be built at the 5 or at a 7 or at a 10, which is very, very nice. It has casters. It has what we call LED lighting, and it's true light, so it's true tone, which is kind of that sunlight color, low heat, low watt. Have you had anybody talk about light with you?
Actually, it was super fun. I actually just talked to this super sweet gentleman just the other day who actually has the 10-foot light bar, and I was like, I just love that, and the true light especially, because this gentleman has actually tried a whole bunch of other different lights. He's like, it just is not the same. The LED, the low heat as well. He's like, I've had major problems with that. And so just especially the true light was huge for him. So he actually came back and he wanted to get the 5-foot light bar for his cutting space. Because again, just that true light, it absolutely makes a huge difference. And I'm going to be honest, I think you can always have more light in your workspace. So
I believe that is absolutely the case. So Jared, here's a quick thing that we'd like to do. There's different ways of doing this right now. Let's go ahead and just have in the comments, if you wouldn't mind, what was the frame that LJ did a demonstration of? That is our portable frame. Go ahead and give us the name. What is the name of what that is? And again, while we're looking and waiting for that, we have another comment. Your machines might be in the basement or in a dark space. This light bar with this luminous light bar would be wonderful. We'll go ahead and put in the comments what was the name of the frame that we watched a video on here just a bit ago. Let's go ahead and put that in there. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll look at picking a winner, chicken dinner, turkey dinner coming
turkey
up.
dinner, ham dinner.
And then with that, Jared, do you have a process? You can go ahead and look in the comments. Do you have access to those comments? You might not have access to the comments.
I can see the comments. I can see, we got a few people commenting.
Looks like we have some people putting the name in it. You want to go ahead and tell me which one we'll select it? We're going to throw it up on the screen here.
Ooh, okay. Give me a sec. I'm gonna see what I can do.
Here, so Jared's taking a look here. We've got a lot of people.
Yeah.
And Jared, let's do this. Let's give away 2 of these. Ooh. And what I say by that is we got a couple people, somebody joining us from the YouTube. So if you're on the YouTube channel, congratulations. If you're on the Facebook, congratulations. Let's do that to start. We won't necessarily do that the entire time. We'll just kind of look at comments and pull somebody.
Yeah.
But I'll go ahead and sponsor 2 of these giveaways right now for those that are joining with us.
Woo!
Big deal.
Yeah, fantastic. So I randomly selected one of them, and Yvonne Southwind.
All right, here we go. There we go. Congratulations to Yvonne Southwind. Jared, do you mind if I ask the best way for them to contact you to redeem that kind of a prize? What would you like them to do?
The best way would be to probably email us, info@graceframe.ca. CA is important.
All right, let me go ahead and put this up. Just give me a second here. So let me edit this. So you're saying it's info.
Yep.
At graceframe.ca.
At graceframe.ca.
Right.
If
There
you
we
put
go. We're going to go
.com,
ahead and
you'll
put
still
that up.
find
So
a lovely
congratulations,
person, but
Yvonne.
Congrats.
yeah,
This is what we're going to ask.
congratulations.
You need to email info@graceframe.ca. So info@graceframe.ca. Those others that are streaming with us, take this down, because if you're a winner on some of the other items, we would like you to contact and reach back out. So Jared, you have the name of that one. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to leave this up for just a minute while we look at selecting the next winner. We're going to do a second 10-foot light bar. These are pretty big deals. We got some other fun things coming up later as well. But what we'll do following this is we're going to get into the tree skirt. But Jared, who else should we be doing? Who else would you like us to say congratulations to right now?
I'm thinking another random selection. It would be Deborah Little.
All right, let me see if I can find that. But what he said was a Deborah Little. Give me just a moment here. Boom, there we go.
Boom,
Congratulations. That is a correct answer. So Deborah, again, what we're going to do is we're going to ask that Deborah Little reach out to Jared at info@graceframe.com. Again, info@graceframe.com. So let's go ahead and move on. We're going to move into the tree skirt that Carla is doing, and we're going to listen to that. We might have been taking a break, but we're doing too much jibber jabbering. So I think, LJ, are we going to let you go and we have somebody else coming in a little bit later? So thanks for being with us right now as we're doing this. We're going to go ahead and start our tree skirt video. We're really excited to see a little bit more about that and listen to Carla and see what she does as part one, and we'll come back for part two. So thank you, Carla, for being
everybody.
with us.
Welcome. Thank you for joining me for part one of my tree skirt and my tablecloth. So in part two, I'm going to show you how to quilt it, but in this one, I'm going to show you how to cut it and piece it. I'm really excited because it turned out really cute. And it was a lot of fun and very easy. Even with my arm, it turned out, my husband did the cutting, so I just want you to, I will show you how to cut, but I'm not actually going to cut on this segment here. It was just 2 weeks ago, so I want to explain that I broke my arm. Dang it, wish I hadn't, but I did. And so I can't apply any pressure yet. That's the word, yet. I can't wait for the day that I can use my ergonomic cutter, and I know it will really help me as I transition into starting to cut again. And you know I can piece, because he only did the cutting. I wouldn't let him do the piecing. So anyway, let me jump in and tell you how this idea came about. I love 60-degree triangles. They are fun and so versatile. If you don't have a ruler that is a 60-degree, you need to get one, because there are so many ways that you can use it, so many designs that you can make, and this is just one of them. In an earlier segment for Tuesdays, I did a quilt called So Easy. So if you're wondering of what else you can do, you can check that video out and see what else you can do with the 60-degree triangle. But today I'm going to show you this little tree skirt. Now, I did do a tablecloth as well. It's a little bigger and it's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm just going to show you on this little segment how to cut and what I did. So it all started with my little hexagon right here in the middle. And I used the 60-degree to sew them together. So as you'll notice, I was going to make it a hexagon tree skirt, but as I was piecing it together, I started changing my mind. So I decided that I wanted it to be a star-shaped rather than a hexagon. If you like the hexagon look, and it'll be a little easier to quilt, you could just continue on and add 2 extra triangles right here and right here and make it a hexagon. And then you'll just leave this open right here and make your little circle. All right? So that's what you do to make a complete hexagon all the way around. Not hard to do at all, just a little different look. If you're going to do that, I would change the color and not make this one color so you can actually see the star. So I'd change the tips and maybe make them this gold color, whatever you want. You guys know what you like. And that's just a suggestion. So let's start out and talking about cutting out our little 60-degree triangles. So The best way to do this, because there's a little bit of waste and we want the least amount of waste as possible as we're cutting. So the best way to do it is decide what size you want your center to be. Now I cut these using the 5.5 inch on the 60 degree. So I just used this as my mark. And so when I was cutting my little triangles out, I cut out strips of fabric. Okay, you'll cut out strips of fabric and you'll use your 5.5, okay, because you want a nice straight edge. So you'll cut a nice straight edge all the way across, but then you want to go up just 1/4 of an inch higher or wider than what you're cutting, so that as you're cutting, you can go up and off and you'll have the least amount of waste because of my fabric. So you want to use both sides. So you'll cut up one side and then down the other like that, and then you can go all the way across, and then you can flip it and come back this way. So you're using your 5.5 as well. So there's not as much waste. And I will tell you in the instructions how many of each color you'll need to make your star. Notice that I did my center, the lighter gold, because I was going to cut it out because I really liked this little red fabric. And then I sewed it together so that I could cut out my circle, and I'm just going to pick right up in here after I cut it. So anyway, that's what you'll do right there. So let's talk about, now that we're cutting, notice one thing on my ruler I'm missing, and I'm missing my true grips. You need to have your true grips, especially on these 60-degree rulers, because they really slide around a lot. And you want to stabilize them as you're cutting, because especially if you're cutting up one side and coming down this direction, it will help you so you don't have to make it so hard as you're cutting down. I've done it both ways, so I've gone up one side, gone over to the other side of the counter and cut it this way, but I've come back down this way, so whatever works well for you. So let's make sure that we put our true grips on, and really what you'll want to do is put one in the center and on all three sides. So I want one up here at the top, because as I'm pushing gently on the ruler, I don't want it to veer off. So this will really anchor that top point. And we also want to anchor right here and right here. So you might want little stickers all the way along, all true grips all the way along, depending on what you're using. So these little inner dots are great for that. So if you wanted to put them on the number, they're clear so they don't impede the number as you're doing it. So it will really help you stay right there on as you're using it. So make sure you're using both sizes, the larger size and the smaller size. And like I said, the smaller size, I did it on that 7, but you can't even tell that I have a little true grip on there because it's clear and you can see right through it. So it's not going to diminish any of the lines, so you have clear sight and seeing all the way as you're cutting. So great product here. So don't just buy one package, buy more than one, because you will use them all the time. All right, so that's how I cut them. So I cut them in strips. Make sure you're not cutting any more than 4 layers. On this one, I like you to be a little more accurate. There are some cutting designs out there, like a log cabin or strips or like that, that can have a little bit of a variance, and you can adjust that as you're sewing. But these, we want to be as accurate as possible as we're cutting, so that it makes our piecing that much easier. And so just make sure that you do it, and always make sure that you cut your selvedges off. Let me show you what it looks like when you leave your selvage on. Because like I said, I had my sweet husband, he cut, and he was trying to maximize the waste. of my fabric, so he's trying to make it work. He kept saying, yeah, you won't be able to see this, will you? Yeah, you will. So cut your selvedges off before you, even though you're going to have less to work with, it's really important, okay? So now this one I can't really use, but I could use it as a smaller triangle, so I don't really want to throw it out. So you just want to make sure. He did the same thing on this one too. Had that little selvage on there. So make sure you're having a full 60-degree triangle that you're cutting. Okay, so let's talk real quick about the piecing. After you've cut them, let's talk about the piecing. So I laid this out. I laid out my whole quilt, and then I started from the edge and worked my way in. But on this one, I worked from the center out. So I did this row first, okay? So I sewed up this row and laid it down, and then I sewed up this row, laid it down, and then this one. And I sewed these on after I had my little hexagon all pieced together. So I sewed my center section, this one first, this one second, this one third, then I went over and did this side, the same thing. And notice how it has a star within a star. That's pretty cool. And it's not even a circle, it's a hexagon. So it turned out really cute. So anyway, and then I sewed this together, and then I sewed on my outer pieces. So as you're piecing these together, okay, you're going to take one, you're going to pick up the ones that you've laid out on the table. So say I'm doing these two right here, okay, this row here. You're going to pick up these two here, and once you have the rhythm down and how it's done, then you can pick up more pieces. I just don't want you to get confused, and that's my biggest problem as I'm quilting. That's why I lay it out first and then go and pick it up. I think it's easier for me to go and take more time picking it up, doing a section at a time, than having to unpick because I screwed it up. So just learn from my mistakes that this is actually easier, and then once you have it, you can move on, okay? So anyway, or you could number them, I don't care, whatever works for you. So what you're gonna do is you're going to put right sides together. So right sides together is the beautiful side of your fabric, and this is the wrong side. It's the faded, dingy side. So what you're gonna do is put your right sides together, like that, and then you're just gonna sew your 1/4 of an inch all the way down, from point to point. And then when you open it up, you have what looks like this. So you open it up, and you think, oh, how's that gonna work? So you just have to lay it like this. Okay, so it'll go like this. So this is this little section, and then you're going to do the same thing to the other side. And notice that if you'll do this one at a time, how you'll get your little seam allowance right there. So after you've done the first one, the first two, then you'll lay this next one, your third one, this one right here, on top of it. But you're going to use the little points. You're going to match them up point to point. So see that? How I have my little points matching up, and then you're going to sew all the way down, and you're going to do that all the way across. It's as easy as that, and you will be done in no time. So you're going to sew up this row first, doing that method, then you're going to go to this row, and then you're going to sew the rows together. So when you're sewing the rows together, let me show you what I did. I matched up the points again. So I took my little points, and I pinned them into place, and I went right through so that I was making sure that my points matched up, so I had a point. There's nothing worse than to see a triangle that its point is 1/4 of an inch down in because your seam allowances aren't correct. So just use your little points on your 60 degree and match them up, and you'll be good to go. And then I just sewed straight across, really easy, then opened it up, and then I just did it at a row at a time. Okay, after I did all the center section, because I wanted a little different look. Yes, I could have continued on with this look right here, because notice that this is the same size triangle as this one out here. But I wanted to change it up a little bit. So I used this as my template, this triangle here, and I made this full triangle to sew on the edges, and it just turned out really cute. So there are lots of options and lots of different ways to use the 60-degree triangle and cut it out and make your tree skirt or a tablecloth. It doesn't matter. There's so many different designs that you can make. I have even more, but we're waiting till next year. I don't want to show you all my tricks and all my ideas right now. I have a lot of classes to fill in then, and so next year I'll even have more ideas and more ways for you to use the 60-degree triangle for your Christmas tree skirt or a tablecloth as well. A table topper, it doesn't matter how fun and how cute it will be. So another thing I just wanted to mention real quick is make sure that as you're cutting, this fabric here was a little directional. Let me show you a little bit about what I mean. So with my solids, now I did a tablecloth, and I did it out of these two colors because I really liked them. But this, notice how the reindeers are up, and if I turned them this way, they'd be upside down facing you, or on the side or anything like that. So make sure that as you're cutting and turning it the right direction for you. Okay, so let me just show you. I have a couple of 60 degrees, and I'm just going to use the ones that with the selvedges. But notice how when I put them together, the trees are going this way. If you don't like that look, then change it around, okay? So that they're at least going the same direction, they're not going to meet up. It would take too much time for me to make the Santa come out and actually piece it. I don't care. But if this bothers you, that the Santa isn't in the right way, don't use this fabric. If the fabric's not right for you. So, you know, as you're deciding on what fabrics to use, if this is going to be a problem, choose a different fabric. Maybe choose a solid, or choose something like this one here that has a smaller, denser design that you're not going to really notice what direction I have to turn it. So really important, and just something to think about for any quilt that you're quilting, is the fabric that you choose and how it will look as you're quilting. And then you can decide, hey, that's the right piece for this. But I really liked it, and it didn't bother me. But if it bothers you, don't do it, because it takes a lot more time unpicking, and it's a waste of your beautiful fabric. And fabric is too expensive to cut it out and finally decide, I can't use this because it's not the right fabric or the right designed fabric for this project. So let's just talk about this triangle here. You'll use this triangle right here as your template, because I said I did earlier because I learned, okay? But I didn't, and I thought, hey, I was being really smart, but that's just going to be the easiest way for you to cut out this triangle and make it the right size. I tried to be really smart and do a paper template, but notice how much bigger it is. So the 60-degree triangles, trying to figure out the sizes, it's a little tricky. So just use this one with the sewn seams as your template, and you're good to go. So anyway, I'm really excited about this. So join me at the Quilting Frame when I am going to show you some ideas and ways to quilt these fun tree skirt and tablecloth. I'll see you there.
So thank you, Carla, for what that was. And again, stay with us because we have part 2. But with me, I have Melinda. Thanks for joining us, Melinda.
Hi, everybody.
She works also on part of our account executive team, does a wonderful job, does a lot of things, continuously does more. But Jared, one of the things I thought we could do with Melinda, as part of what we're going to do, so again, a couple of things is stick with us because we have part 2 where she's going to be finishing that up and talking about the quilting process on that tree skirt as well. And what we're going to get into here in just a minute is Carla is going to share and do a trunk show with us and talk about some of her quilts. And she'll talk about how she finished with those and talk about a variety of frames. So what I thought I could do, Melinda, is quickly have you maybe just share a little bit on what your experience has been as you've talked to customers regarding the frames that they maybe have brought into their homes.
Oh, of course, of course. I talk to our customers day in, day out. I have had the opportunity to go to the International Quilt Festival in Houston. Again, existing customers, new customers, everybody loves their frames. And I think that's, fair to say just across the board for the frames that we offer, whether they are limited on space and have chosen, something as small as the Cutie, or if they are fortunate enough to have a big sewing room and the ability to have one of our continuum frames. Everybody, just the consensus across the board is they love our frames. They're sturdy, they're built well, they're easy to use and maintain. And again, that's just straight across the board that I hear day in and day out.
Yeah, and I would hear the same, being in the industry for quite some time. There's a lot of comments we get. A lot of people actually, if they hear Grace Company, they go, oh, you're the frame company.
Mm-hmm.
And that stems because that's part of our basis was hand quilting, quilting with hoops. Then we moved into machine, really what we call creating and consumerizing the professional side of quilting. And then even to this year, Jared, as we mentioned earlier, as we have the new invention of this portable version. And yes, people are traveling with them in motorhomes. People are putting them in places and storing them in places. Frames have never been stored in. But Jared, what I thought I would do here briefly is just kind of reach out to you, maybe share some of the thoughts and the comments you had. And what I'll do is I'll be queuing up the video that we'll come back to when you're done, Jared, just briefly sharing what your experience has been in Canada with those people, with the Grace frames. We'll look at the trunk show and we'll get into that. So share with us what your thoughts are, Jared.
Excellent, thanks, Nathan. So like Melinda, I've talked to a lot of customers and a lot of users of quilting frames, and yeah, people know that Grace Company makes quilting frames, and that those are fantastic products all over the country. I love visiting people in British Columbia, and I'm always I hear about quilting frames when I'm over there, and the great experiences that they're having with those. And when I go out east, I live in Alberta. But when I head out to Ontario, I haven't been further than Ontario yet, but I'm coming for you, Maritimes and Newfoundland. I'm coming. But yeah, it's nice to be able to have such a nice product to be able to import into Canada, to share with the Canadian audience and the Canadian customers. Yeah, it's just a really lovely experience. It's to be able to share that with people.
Thank you. I know it's been fun, Jared. I've had a chance. We've been to multiple shows up in Canada. I know we have a big one next year, right?
Yep.
British Columbia.
Yeah, that's going to be Quilt Canada over in Vancouver, British Columbia. We have we're getting ready for our booth there and our classroom. We're going to be sponsoring a classroom, and hopefully we'll convince Carla to come teach some classes for us.
Yes, yeah. So I know with that we've got several things. We do have a classroom. So if you're not going, or if you haven't been to Quilt Canada in a while because they haven't held it, know that come and join us there. We're also looking to do a digital version with that as well. But yeah, absolutely right. We actually had a chance to travel to different dealers, to different regions, and demonstrate some of those frames. We've been very warmly received from the quilters again throughout that. So as you're joining us, please feel free to put comments or questions into the side. We're trying to get to those. We have a couple of Grace Company employees here helping answer some of those questions as well. Jared, I know that they can also reach out to graceframe.ca. And then you guys have your 800 number, which we'll bring up here in a minute. But let's do this. I walked through a presentation with Carla here a little bit ago, talking about her quilts and what frames she selected to finish those on, and a little bit about why. And we're hoping that this would hopefully give you some ideas on some of the value pieces on why someone might choose a frame A over B or C. Do you have any thoughts before we get into this that might be something for people to think about as they're watching part of this video regarding frames?
Of course. Talking to our customers, it seems probably the biggest, I don't want to say issue that people encounter, but it always comes up is the space they have available to dedicate to their sewing. And regardless as to what space they have available, we always are able to come up with a solution that will simplify and provide them with their needs. So.
Well, good. So with that, let's go ahead and watch this video. It's fun again to be with Carla. We walk through and she's going to share some quilts, and we're going to talk a little bit about the differences on those. So here we go. Let's go ahead. Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm Nathan Erznosnik with the Grace Company, and with me I have
Carla Jerome. Welcome.
Wonderful. Carla is head of education. I'm really glad to have you in studio with us today to talk about a couple things. Behind us, it looks a little bit different. One of the key things I love, Carla, when you're out there working with customers, I know when you're doing education, I know the same thing when I have a chance to either be at a show or to be part of a conversation on the phone. Our customers have a couple key questions that they bring up. And I'm looking at answering those today by looking at the frame sets. And if you'll notice, we have a bunch of Carla's quilts around us. And so really, if we're going to start, we're going to look at a few things. One, I want to really look at quilts that were done on specific frames. And we're going to hear a little bit about the story behind why they were done on those frames and what you might be able to find out in determining which frame or what type of system might work best for you. So stay with us as we go through this. Carla, I know that there's a big passion you have. In fact,
I do.
Before we started this, you said this is actually some of the history of Grace Company by looking at some of the quilts we're going to look at today. Why would you say that this is part of the history of Grace Co. as well?
Well, see, I started at the very beginnings of the Grace Company, and I started quilting, and we were making hand frames, and I love quilting, and I got into it, and I started making quilts and using them on the frames to quilt them, and then we got quilting machines. And so with each quilt, there's a little story of the company and why I made it to tell. So.
Wonderful. With that, I actually would like to work us through part of that story by starting over here on my left.
Okay.
And the reason I bring that up is this is where a lot of you actually might start your journey. And so this is the Cutie tabletop frame. And part of this, we're not going to talk a lot about those frames in specific. We would encourage you to look at other videos. Carla has done several. There's been a lot of educational components. We have features on those as well. But we're going to start with this tabletop frame. You'll notice it's on a table. It allows you to start with your domestic machine. And so I want to take a quilt, Carla, that kind of shows how and what you maybe did on something like this. And this one was done on a hoop frame. And this, Carla, I believe, let's show this to everybody here. Let's go ahead and open this one up. Was done also with a domestic machine, right?
Yes, a little small domestic machine, because at the time we were just starting to make the hoop frames, and we wanted to test them out and see, you know, what little things we could bring to the table to improve them before we started manufacturing. So I was testing it out with this quilt on the machine. So it was really fun, a little frustrating at times because I was used to using a long arm, and notice that my blocks are a little bigger.
Let's maybe hold that. So if we can maybe take a close-up right here on my arm, Carla, we can take a look. Now I'm also noticing that these frames go across, and so one of the things I like talking about is, again, you mentioned that the blocks were a little bit larger, so this is something that if you have a domestic, now this is gorgeous, and I'm looking at this thinking like, how did you really accomplish this with the domestic machine? So maybe talk to us briefly about how you did it with domestics. And then this quilt's really big.
It is.
And this was done on a hoop frame. So this was done on a frame that's what, about 4.5 feet wide?
Right.
So this is done on a hoop frame that fits into a 4.5 foot space. So maybe walk through a little bit. Maybe you can show them. I'll hold this for you if you want to talk about any of those pieces on there.
So anyway, my blocks are a little bigger, but I didn't know I was going to be quilting this on a hoop frame with a small domestic machine. But it was good for me to learn the process. So I learned, number one, that if I just marked how far my machine would reach, then I wouldn't hit the back of it, and that was the most frustrating thing. So you learned from my mistakes and my learning curve, and so we have brought that information to you. So that's really important, why we test the machines out and use them ourselves. So that was one really big thing. And then it was just so much fun to be able to shift the quilt and not be able to you know, just make it easier for me and moving across the frame. And so I chose a design that was just an edge-to-edge design and just had fun. And I learned as I went along and just quilted. So
wonderful. So with it, if you kind of think back, we're looking at a smaller frame, either like this at 4 foot or the one over here behind Carla. This quilt, which is a fairly large quilt, what would you say the size of that one was?
Oh, it's probably a little larger. It's probably a double bed.
So a double bed size. And again, if we take a quick look behind me, this is a domestic machine. So here what we have is a smaller mid-arm machine. This one has a 9-inch throat space on it. But by being able to put that on a trolley, you get to move those and it really converts your domestic machine.
So
and as Carla mentioned, we go through this in sections. Now, we're not going to show all those details, but we encourage you to look at online. You can go to a dealer as well to look at the hoop frames. There are videos that show actually how you engage with it. I know Carla's done some physical videos that show that quilting process. I've done that as well. So I'm going to ask you to reach out and take a look at that. Let's take a look in the middle here, and I'm going to go to one of the first ones here. And this one, if I were to ask before I show everybody, was this done on, I'm going to call it a roller frame or a much larger frame. Behind us, we have a 19, but again, one of the nice things is you can use some domestics on this, and this frame is much larger. It actually is out to 8, and with certain frames like our Continuum, out to 12 feet. The fabric rolls around those. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how you might have completed this one, and then why, and how, you know, what was the process that made it a little bit easier by using the roller type of a frame. How do you want me to hold this? Let me hold this top edge there. We'll kind of,
it's kind of fun.
It's a big quilt, so I'm not going to hold it all. I'll kind of do this for you.
What's fun about this is I was able to just, this was really my very first, no, not my very first free motion quilt, but one of the first that I used rulers and templates, and I'm just really proud of. And it was just kind of a fun design that I chose circles because we were making our circle cutter at the time. That's why I say my quilts tell the history of the company. But I just wanted to make a circle quilt, and the rolling frame just kind of, with the longer arm machine, gave me more quilting area. So I wasn't hitting the back as often. Yes, you do still need to make sure that you're marking and know how far your machine will reach so you don't mess up your design. But it was a lot of fun filling in with all these little pebbles, and I got really good at it. So it was a lot of fun.
With that, one of the things I really love, just to tell you what I appreciate with Carla as well, one of those things is she's very creative. And she can do traditional, she can do modern, she can do other things, but she really likes to decide how to push some of those bounds. Again, before we showed you some simplicity on completing them with your domestic machine on a small hoop style. This is one that definitely shows you, as you continue to expand your space, you can actually have more quilting room. And on the roller frame, one of the nice things is it actually pre-bastes everything. So if we were to briefly take a look at this frame behind us, those fabric layers get brought into the throat of the machine. And then again, one of the great things about the Grace company is you can start with your domestic. Behind Carla, we have a 15. Behind me, we have a 19. You can keep those same frames and then move and upgrade your machine head when you're ready to do so. So I love this quilt with the creativity. I like the fact that this is something you used both rulers to give you some exactness, along with your own individual way of building and bringing out those different patterns. I think this is a beautiful one. This is one of my favorites that she has done. And she has a lot, so that's the difficult thing. So I'm going to stick to this one here really quick on a more of a roller type of a frame. This one you're going to see is going to look a little different than the hoop one. I mean the one that she did with the circles. But why don't you share a little bit about why you completed this quilt the way that you did, and a little bit more about the frame and the machine and why you selected those for this quilt.
I used the 21 Pro. At the time, it was kind of a new machine, and I was, again, testing it out to see how well it worked with all the accessories and everything. I used, again, rulers on this. I love ruler work because of the exactness, and I just had fun designing this and filling in these blank spaces. You know, it was easy to kind of fill in these spaces because you have the blocks and the pattern.
So share with me really quick. This one looks like there's quite a bit of ruler, a lot of precision in here.
Yes,
Maybe just share with me, you have this on the frame, then you have the ruler base. We're not going to, again, go into detail on all those accessories, but we do have videos that show you how you can use those add-ons with the different machines. But that was underneath, and you have this ruler that helps create this exactness, right?
Right, and a ruler base that you can press down, and it's like a little table to hold your ruler in place so that you can have the machine foot follow along and make these nice precision lines. And I just really had a lot of fun filling in, exploring different types of fillers to fill in this area. Got pretty good at that. And then I just tried a little bit of pebbling.
So let's kind of hold that for a minute. Maybe we can get a close-up. Again, one of the things I like that you're talking about, Carla, is you use the rulers to create some consistency and some accuracy, and then you went through and then you personally used your own free motion process to do a fill on this. How did you feel the 19 was as far as helping you complete this quilt? Did it help you out? Was it similar to other types of our other machines as well?
They sew beautifully, and to have the accessories available to explore other ways of quilting is so much fun. And you know, you just have that extra throat space that you want and need, and especially with the ruler base, because it takes up some of that quilting area and you don't want to hit the front of your front pole. So having that longer arm machine, awesome.
Good. Let's go ahead and flip it over. I know you said you like the back, as sometimes the back can be just as fun as the front.
Yeah. So it just makes it fun and whimsical, and I always add a strip or a piece back. I like that.
Wonderful. So as we're going to look at, I'm going to kind of move behind you and then we'll kind of come back my way here. I'm going to grab this one. This is a fun one I want to pull out.
Yeah. I did this on the hoop frame.
Hold that. Is this the right way there?
Yeah, that's the right way.
So this one's a fun one. So this was done on a hoop frame. So going back, a couple things we've talked about is, one is you're able to see that you can complete different size quilts on different size frames. You also can use different methods of quilting. So you've done ruler work and free motion. And again, that can be done with different size machines and different size frames. And then there's some conveniences that come into play. You talked about if you want to be able to go through more of an area at one time, you would use a longer throat machine. Again, if you start with your domestic, you end up just doing a little bit smaller sections at a time, right? Now, tell me a little bit what inspired you to do this quilt, and then this was done on the hoop frame. So maybe share a little bit about your experience with this on the hoop frame.
This just kind of morphed into this quilt. I don't even know, I can't even remember why I started it, but I had all these little strips of reds and pinks, and I thought, oh, let's put them together and see what they had. And they came in and turned into lips. And what's fun about this is I used these shapes, these little squares, to make my basket weave design to enhance the outside edge of the lips. And inside here, I just free motioned whatever the heck I wanted. And that was so much fun. It's just to go let loose and just do whatever. And you notice that I get a little tighter into here just to accentuate it.
Maybe we can just take a close-up. Let's hold this for just a minute. I'm not sure if we can get a close-up in here on this area to show how that is a little bit more intricate. She spent a little more time doing some free motions on this. Now, Carla, as you did this on a hoop frame, you would go through this in sections as you came across.
Absolutely.
Did you find that it worked well? Did you find there was a challenge that you had with that at all?
No, I found it really worked very well, and I loved it. I loved all three layers being sandwiched together and me just shifting along. And now, I don't like to base, so I didn't base, but if you do like to base, be my guest.
And that is one thing. We've done a lot of different quilts on the hoops. If you get that top edge usually together and tight, then it does help pull that, because actually the fabric gets pulled gently across the surface, which makes it easier. I'm going to go look at one other thing. I want to jump into this one behind me. We're going to stay here and then we're going to look briefly at a hoop frame. But this one I'm going to bring up because this one also is another element. So not only a little bit that we're going to talk about with frame, but this one was done a little bit, this one you finished with some computer automation. And so the reason I want to get into this is, again, going through some of those beginning spots. Start where you're comfortable. You can start with domestics. You can start with a frame that you can put up and put away. You can get a more permanent solution. You can get larger machines. And you can then at that point, if you're maybe even not comfortable doing it on your own, you can also design patterns or use existing patterns. So let's go ahead and show everybody this. And I know you had a pretty good story, so we're probably not going to be able to open this one all the way up. We will see here. There we go.
Okay, so this was my very first quilt that I ever kind of just designed. So I saw something similar and I just decided I'm going to try my own pattern and make my own pattern. And also we were introducing the automation at the time, and we were all learning how to make patterns and designs and put them in. And so I made up this little heart border. I did this little one.
So hold on a minute, let's get everybody a chance. I'm going to hold this so you can take a look at that heart border.
So I designed that.
So she went on the software, and you were using the QCT Pro, so that software allows you to design. So then you designed this, and then you created that, and then go ahead. What was the next one that you did as well?
This one right here, this little one to fill in this little triangle. I made that one up. I still have those designs on my computer, and then there was one more. Maybe there wasn't one.
Is it anything in the corner, or might it be this one? I know there's this one there too. So there's a few different patterns.
designs right here in the corner were in the system, but it was really just this one and this little heart one, and it just was really fun. And notice that we went along the bottom and we flipped it, and then we went along the top so that they kind of mirror each other, and they just make a fun border.
Wonderful. Now here's the thing. This one was done again on a much larger frame, so that was probably a 10-foot frame.
Right.
So a roller frame like this behind us on a 10-foot frame, those particular pattern sizes can be done with some smaller machines, and you can do larger ones. I'm going to quickly do this, and then we'll do one last quilt here, but this one was done, and one of the things I like about it is this is the progression of showing you that where you're comfortable you can begin, you can start there, and then when you're looking to do something a little bit more, this was not done on a roller frame.
No.
This was done on a hoop frame. This one also was done with automation.
Right.
So people might want to know, hey, can you, or how hard might it be? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience in doing this particular one with the hoop style method on moving it from zone to zone?
Oh, it was so much fun and really quite easy because, like I say, and every time I'm talking about the automation in hoop frames, the automation is so intuitive. It tells you where to shift your quilt and how far you need to shift it. So you just are actually helping the automation just by doing the work. So once we get it fully automated.
So I want to show you again. We can go up, we have the top border, and if you'll notice, this runs across.
Right.
The entire thing. So this goes, if you think about this, look at how wide this is again. This doesn't fit on one of these small ones, and so you do this in sections, but the software does help make that very easy. The same with this next border section.
Yeah, it turned out pretty good.
And one of the things I really like, Carla, that you started mentioning is like and again, this is a fun one to look at because even though the pattern was done, and let me hold, I think we did it this way across.
Right.
Even though it was done edge to edge, you can still use that automation to do things very specifically in spaces. And you'll notice that the middle is different than the small border, than the midline or the external, the outer border. And I love kind of just showing how creative you can be. And I like bringing that up because, again, one of the things I think about as we talk with customers is they're struggling to try to understand where or how do I begin, if there is a difference, why one might frame be a little bit better than the other. And really the key thing I kind of really want to share at this point is that becomes personal. How much space do you have in your home? Maybe what is the budget? But the great thing is there's always a place to start, and I don't know if there's ever an end. You can continue to go with that.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and look at this one here. And this one has a little bit of a different story too. And then we'll see if we have time for maybe one more. Let me see which direction. Oh, there we go. That's the right way.
All right.
So maybe we'll just hold this for a quick second, and then I'll kind of come and hold it all for you, Carla. So tell me a little bit about your experience with this. And again, this experience, if I really talk about this, is a little bit more about what quilting means to you.
Right.
And then having access to these tools and what those have done for you as an individual. So share that story with us.
So we were about to have our 30th anniversary, and you know, I wanted to make a quilt that, you know, just showed my love of quilting. And it was at a time when I was kind of depressed and I was really struggling, and what this quilt did was help me explore that creativity and pull me out of that depression. And that's what any art form will do, is it just helps you stop thinking and focusing on those negative thoughts, and it helps open up the doors to, you know, so you're listening and you're deciding, oh, I don't like this block, or I don't like that block, and you're trying new different ways, and so all of a sudden those negative thoughts kind of just go away, and you just kind of are lost in the wonderful experience of quilting and your own art form. So this is what this quilt means to me. And besides that, has my sweet little mommy on there, and you know, it's hanging up in the front entry, and I always say hello mom when I come in the morning. So it's just a lot of fun.
Wonderful. Thank you, Carla. I want to come back and just reiterate, I believe that that's probably one of the best things. I've been in this industry for coming on 15 years, and I really love the fact that there is this personal piece of what quilting is.
Yes.
And whether it's relaxation, whether it's a gift for another, whether it's a space that you're at in your mind, but being able to use this to kind of help find a place and find peace, or be part of a bigger cause even. There's a lot of that comes along with quilting. So I really love hearing the story about that. We're kind of running here to our last couple minutes. We're going to pull this one up just as a last piece, because this is a project I believe that's almost done with Carla that you're working through right now.
Have the binding.
Almost there, but here we go. And tell us a little bit about why you selected to do this one. Now, was this part of a pattern set that have you shown, or does anybody know about this one yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, so here you go. A little bit of a sneak peek. She's always coming up with new ideas and the way those patterns go together. But tell us a little bit, what kind of frame was this done on again?
This was started on the Cutie frame, and I was showing in my, webcam the progression of quilting and using different frames and machines, kind of like we're doing today. And so we started on the Cutie frame with the domestic machine, and then I ended on a 21 on a rolling frame. So it's really kind of a fun quilt, and the progression of it. You can see right here, this is the area that I started right here in this corner with the domestic machine, and you can see my little kitty liked to lay on the quilt. So, but anyway, it was just a lot of fun, and the design, I kind of, just kind of did the curvy design and had fun.
Wonderful. Maybe let's quickly throw it over. People might want to say, show us the back quickly. Yeah. There we go. There's a quick shot of the back.
I still have a few threads to cut.
A few threads, but that's wonderful. So Carla, let me just come back and then reiterate. So what I'm hearing you kind of mention again is here we're in front of these different frames, different size machines, similar techniques can be done on them.
Absolutely.
And so part of what this one was is your inspiration was, I'm wondering how we can give somebody an idea that you can accomplish something like this on a varied set of machines using some different techniques. And I really think that that's the important part of why and what I'm wanting for you to get out of this is to go back and kind of consider, where are you at right now? Where are you at in your home? What kind of space do you have? Do you need something that's this like a tabletop that can be put away and pulled out when you're needing to finish a couple of those quilts? I know, depending on where it is in the year, it might be a holiday time, but it also might be a time where you actually have a gift that you're looking to give to a loved one. Maybe it's a new baby that somebody has. And I always ask, how many tops do you have unfinished? And so really the set of tools that we're looking to offer really help make that a little bit more possible. And I really love being part of this Grace Company. Carla, do you have any last thoughts you'd like to share as an encouragement with anyone as they're trying to decide what this might mean for them in quilting and what the tools might do to help them out?
Well, if you've ever wanted to, and and if you just want to jump in and try something, these hoop frames are a great place to start. They're not extremely expensive, anything like that, and you can use a longer arm machine and upgrade. So you don't have to go and repurchase something. But if you have room in your home, just stop and think about it. What direction I want to go? How do I want to quilt? You can start anywhere. It just come to the Grace Company and check it out, because we love quilting and we love you.
And we do. So thank you very much, Carla. Thanks for joining me in the studio today. Just again, as a reminder, if you do have any questions, we're going to ask that you log on. Please feel free to leave comments below. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Also, follow us on our Instagram and visit us at our website at graceframe.com or contact your local dealer. With that, I'm Nathan Erznosnik with the Grace Company, and thank you, Carla, for joining us with this. Thanks, everybody, for being with us, and we look forward to bringing you more soon. Enjoy your afternoon, your evening. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Again, it's glad to have those that are with us still streaming. So thanks for being here. If you're seeing this after the fact, just understand there's a lot of great things going on, some wonderful promotional items. In fact, I really enjoyed hearing Carla talk about that. And I wanted to put that segment together for quite some time, because I think one of the biggest questions people wonder, what fits in my space? How does it fit in my space? Why does this fit in my space? But Jared, maybe really quick, share with us any thoughts that you have or that you had based on some of this, based on your experience again with maybe your most recent event that you've done with any of your viewers / customers or your dealers.
There we go. That should work better. Yeah. So I really enjoyed the presentation. I've been wanting to have a look at some of Carla's quilts. I see her at quilt shows, and I see her when I go down and visit you guys at the Grace Company, but I haven't seen a lot of her projects, and it was really interesting to see what her process was going through each of those and thinking about how she can quilt it, on a variety of different frames and machines. I recently was actually just last weekend. I was out at our dealer in Regina, Peachtree Quilt Shop, in Regina, Saskatchewan, and the same kind of conversations come up again and again of what size of projects are you making, what kind of designs do you want to make, how can you quilt that, how can you make quilting easier and a more satisfying process. And so these are the things that come up again and again as we talk to quilters. And it's lovely to see kind of a clean presentation that shows another quilter's mindset on how she thought about that process. I think that'll be really useful. I'm so glad that this will be a resource we can come back to later because I'm sure a lot of quilters can get some value out of that.
Let's do this, Jared. I wanted to bring this up, and then maybe Melinda and Jared, I'm going to kind of maybe ask some questions, see if there's any last thoughts. But Jared, this is your website. So I think one question that comes up that people ask is like, well, where would I go find more information? How do I know maybe what some of those differences? This is graceframe.canada.ca. So this one here is, and I'll put this up here a little bit later, but www.graceframe.ca. And this is the landing page that really starts breaking down part of the customer selection, right? And I know from our site, Melinda, that there's an option for customers to go in there. Do you have any other thoughts, Melinda or Jared, on some of the value that this might help in answering questions for any potential quilters that are looking for a frame this season?
Go ahead, Melinda.
I think the website, it's a great starting point just to see, really what's out there, what's available, what are other people using, and just kind of beginning that research into what type of frame is going to suit their needs for their projects. And I think the pictures, there's tons of pictures, there's tons of videos on YouTube, but I think as people are looking at different avenues, looking at the pictures, looking at the videos, they're getting their inspiration to be able to complete their projects. They'll see different examples everywhere, and really fall in love with the craft of quilting.
Wonderful.
Jared, what thoughts might you have?
I love what Melinda said, that the website's a good starting place. So often, we supply products to all across Canada to stores from coast to coast, literally coast to coast. And it's difficult for them to access resources, but when we have a website, it's a place that they can go, they can find that information, they can find what's the difference between this frame and this frame. They can compare some frames, they can look at the different machines we have, and again. So when I've talked to our office staff who answer the phones every day, almost everyone who calls us has either on the website or has recently been on the website. And I get the same messages from our dealers across Canada that people are visiting the website, they're learning about the products, and then they're finding their next resource. So I think, Melinda, you're exactly right. It is a wonderful starting place, and I'm so glad we have it as a resource for quilters all over the country.
Thanks, Jared. I appreciate it. Again, I just wanted to bring this up really quickly. Here you can see this is Graceframe, www.graceframe.ca in Canada. You can go there and you can find out all the current promotional prices, whether that's on frames or combos with machines. With that, Melinda, thanks for being with us. Stick with us because we're going to do the part 2 of the tree skirt, and then we're going to come back and do some giveaways. We have a few more giveaways for those who are live streaming with us today. And we also have those people who put their name in, who've registered for this event as well. We're going to be doing some other drawings following that. We're going to look about a little bit more about choosing frames here a little bit later, but we're going to give away a couple of the bigger prizes. So stick with us as we go through this. We have about another hour and 15 or 20 minutes as we go through part of this Boxing Day introductory piece. And thanks, Jared, for your time and all the time that your team puts into this. Thank you, quilters, for being with us. Thank you, Melinda, for being with us. Of course. Jared, with us. I'm going to go ahead and start our second part 2 of our tree skirt. We're excited to hear a little bit more from Carla on how she finished this up.
Hello everybody and welcome. I'm Carla Jerome. I'm here with the Grace Company and I'm really excited to show you, I'll give you ideas of how to quilt either your tree skirt or your tablecloth. Either one. In my first segment, I showed you how to cut out and sew together. You can pick either a tree skirt, you can do both, or the tablecloth, and the ideas are yours. This video, I'm going to show you some ideas on how to quilt it. But you definitely use your ideas and quilt it however you want. I'm just trying to spark some creativity and pull that out of you so that you can try something new. So with this, it's an odd shape, okay? tree skirt or tablecloth. This is what I'm quilting today, is the tablecloth, and I'm going to use the automation. Now you could free motion quilt, and in my instructions on how to piece it, I will write down the ideas for quilting so that you can have those. If you can't come up with a design or anything like that, I will have a few for you to try out and use. So notice that we have a lot of empty negative space here on our backing. Now if you don't want that negative space, you can do, like I said in the cutting video, fill it in with your 60-degree triangles and make it a hexagon shape. And so then it will just be a little bit bigger. I liked the idea of having a star for a tablecloth, so that's what I'm doing. You do it however you want to do it. Just a little bit more piecing, but it's not going to take any time at all. So let's talk about threads and thread colors. As you're quilting, that's one of the biggest struggles sometimes we have, is what color are we going to quilt our design in. And so I pulled out a few different threads and just brought them so that you could see and you could decide. So this is what I do at home. This is kind of my process, is picking out my thread colors. I will open them up and I will lay the threads out, having the strings, and see what I like on the quilt. I have chosen the red, as you'll notice right here, to quilt it because I want the design to kind of pop, and I think that will look really fun. But if you didn't want the design to pop, this smoky quartz would be a really good one to use. Notice that it just kind of lay in the background. It will kind of pop on the red, but it would be a good one. Then we have this variegated grays, so it's a little darker grays and a little lighter, just like in my quilt here. So I'll kind of draw some interest and ideas from my fabrics that I'm using, and that's why I pulled this other red. Notice that I have a little bit of this little salmon pink in this. So this red here is a variegated red, but it has the pinks in it as well. So it might be kind of fun to use and draw a little more interest. Now with the variegated, you're going to have it go dark to light and light to dark. And so it's going to add a little bit more texture onto your quilt. And if you don't like that, just use the plain old solid colors. But try a variegated once in a while, just change it up. And then I pulled out this this spearmint. Now it's probably not the one I would use, but it works and it adds. So what is your color scheme for Christmas? And you might want to choose something kind of off the grid and go kind of a little wild and choose something like the spearmint and add a different look. So all of them will make the quilt look different. If I showed you the same quilt quilted in the different threads, you would see totally different quilts, and your eyes would be drawn to different areas. So that's what threads will do. When you're using threads, use the right size needle. So find out what size needle is recommended for the threads that you're using and use that needle. It will eliminate the thread breakage. So let's jump in and get started on picking out designs and ideas for quilting. So I've opened up my automation and I've come into my big design library. Now hopefully you have made your library a little easier to use than I have. And make sure that you're making your file folders easy to jump in and read and look at. But I just jumped into my batched folder. These are designs that I've purchased and that I like, and we're just going to go through and kind of talk about the different designs and how they would look on the quilt. So this quilt, you could quilt a couple of different ways. Now, you can quilt an edge-to-edge design all the way across and all the way down. It being the same design, you can decide how tall and how wide across do you want it, the spacing and everything. But remember, I have a lot of negative space in here, so it's a lot of quilting that you'll be cutting out and not using. Okay, but you could make maybe a placemat, because I have a piece backing under here. You could do a placemat, you could use it for little coasters. So there's lots of ways you could use up this excess if you wanted to do that. So don't let that stop you from, you know, because we don't want to waste our fabric and our quilt, and it'll be a beautiful design. So if you want to quilt it edge to edge, go ahead and be my guest. And I'll show you how to set it up for an edge to edge quilt. And that's the first one that we're going to run into. So let me get out of here, my file folder, and let me just pull a design. And I was in Select and Sew, but I'm going to come back out here. And I'm going to go into Pantograph. That's where you're going to set up your edge-to-edge design. But before you put your quilt on, you need to measure it. You need to measure the length and the width of it and write those numbers down. Okay, mine is 82 at its widest point. At the center point where the stars, when I folded it, it was 82 inches. So, okay, so I'm going to go into my Pantograph. And I've already set my safe area. So when I set my safe area, I want to say this too. I went all the way up over here off of my quilt to set my safe area, my first one, and then I came all the way down as far as I could, as far as it would reach, and set my other one. All right, and I have my quilt clips to hold my quilt up off the floor. All right, so my quilt is going to be 82 by 82 because that's at its longest and widest, okay? So my total width, see, I just barely have enough room. So it's going to be 82, because this was my safe area right here. And I'm going to put in my 82. Oops, sorry, that was 80. All right. So when you touch on this, your little pop-up window will open up, and that's where you can put your measurements in. Okay, so notice right over here it says the Panto mode. That's the Pantograph mode they're using. I'm using basic mode. For this one, I could use Power Panto. I could use Easy, so either one of them will work. Let's use Power Panto mode and show you what it's like. Okay. So I've selected my Power Pounder mode, and I have my total width is 82 and my total height is 82. So let's go in and now select our design. So I'm going to come over here and I tapped on Select Pattern, and now it's going to open up my library, and I'm just going to scroll down and see if I can find a design. Now, remember, this is an edge-to-edge quilt, so I want a design that's called a continuous line design. A continuous line design is a design that has a start point and a stop point that allows you to connect your next design to. So when you're looking for designs and you want to cover your whole quilt, make sure you're purchasing a edge to edge, and it'll be an E2E design. Okay, so some of these are blocks, you can see, and some of them are edge to edge. And I'm just going to scroll through and find one really quick. And I may not even use the one that I'm going to show you, but I wanted to show you how to set them up and give you some ideas. So here's a little star one. That could be really fun. And it's a little star one that has a little loop in it. And because this is a star quilt, that could be really fun. So let's pick that one. And I'm just tapped on that little file, and now I'm going to tap on Open. Oh, wow. You can't even see the design because it's scaled it because it was such a big quilt, but I can zoom in on it, but that's a little small for me. So what I'm going to do, and my stars are going to be 6 inches, so that's a pretty good sized star all the way across. It just looks really small because my quilt's pretty big. So let me zoom in and show you what it looks like. So this is your window that if you want to see what the design looks like, you're going to zoom in on. And see this little plus over here? We're just going to make it bigger and bigger. And see? That's a cute little star design. So I could use that. So notice the little stars all the way along. But I could space it, so it's spaced out a little bit more. So instead of them touching each other, notice right along here, you see a little darker line? That's where they're touching. So my spacing, and I want to space it vertically because I want to pull them apart. So then I'm just going to tap on my plus sign right here on the vertical spacing and see how it's just pulling them apart. And I kind of like that even better. There we go. And see how much nicer that is? So if you don't understand how the automation works or what the design looks like, play around with the buttons. It's not going to hurt you to touch them and to see what they do. So just, and I really like that, and that would be a cute design all the way across and all the way down my quilt. And that's in the Power Panto mode. So with the Power Panto mode, it's going to sew all the way across and come back and forth and sew all the way down, and the only time it's going to stop is when you need to roll it for your next section and when you need to change your bobbin. Well, it's not even going to stop then. So you just need to watch it, but have fun designing your quilt. Okay. So that's with an edge-to-edge design. Let's go in and pick out some, or look at some triangle designs for our 60-degree triangle and see how that would look on the quilt so that you can decide the best way to quilt your tablecloth or your tree skirt. Okay, so let's get out of here. That's what's so great about the automation. I mean, there's so many different ways to quilt. Don't limit yourself. So now instead of the pantograph, we are going to come in here to select and sew, and that's where you'll quilt a block at a time or a set. So let's go in here, and now let's look for a little design that would look good. Now this is a block design, so will have a start and stop point, but a point where you can't add another section onto it. So it's not like a continuous line design. So in that, and we want it to be a triangle design. So I have these little feather triangles here that you could use if you wanted that look, that are triangles. I have a little pinwheel shape you could use. You can't use a hexagon shape or a circle shape because, like I said, it is a triangle. I could use this little fancy marquise if I wanted to. It probably wouldn't look as good, or just this little up-down could be kind of fun as well. So as you're scrolling through, so let's go into our main library and you see across the top here how I have some file folders that this one has patterns, this one says block, continuous line, and then I have another set, triangle. So there's a whole set of triangle section in here that you could use. So you can go in and pick one of these out that you liked, that you thought would be kind of Christmassy and kind of fun. Oh, I'm having a hard time. This is one of the harder things to decide into. Like this one, this little bubbles right here could be kind of fun because it could be like little ornaments all the way along it. So you could pick that one, or you could pick something really simple. But let's just pick the little bubbles, okay? Right here. Okay, that's the little bubbles, but notice it's not in a triangle mode, okay, for quilting. It's in block, okay? So block, it has an upper left and a bottom right to place it. Now that wouldn't work for my triangle because I have 3 corners. So I want to move down, just using my little arrows, to triangle. Okay, so there's my triangle. And see, it's a 60-degree triangle, but my design here is a 45-degree triangle design. So try and find a 60-degree triangle design. And I think I have some out there, but I just wanted to show you this. So then if you want to change it, and this would work as well. So if I place this, it's going to stretch it. I'm just going to use my 45 as my 60. So I'm just going to come over here and place it and show you what it does, okay? I'm going to go up here, right there, and then I'm going to come down here and kind of show you what the design does. So it's going to stretch it and make it work, but I could free motion quilt that and make it, you know, a little bit funner and a little more exciting. So this is an idea that you can use, or let's go find a 60-degree triangle out there in our designs and see what that looks like. So I'm going to come back up here to my select pattern, And I'm going to come over here to my patterns because that's where I'll find my library of my patterns. We're going to come into this little folder. When you import designs, it will import into this batch folder. So let me open it up and see all these cool designs that I have. Here's another triangle that could be pretty cool and a lot of fun. And let's see what it looks like. See, it's a 45 degrees. So how you can tell it's a 45 degree, I don't have a lot of 60-degree triangle designs, but like I said, we can use the 45 degree and make it 60. So here's another little design. It's a little more intricate, so you could place that one as well. And just come over here, do the same thing, and see what it looks like. So it's totally up to you and how you want to quilt your quilt. You can quilt it a block at a time using a triangle design. You could quilt a little section of the triangles first, make it a little longer. So here's another idea. Notice right here, I have a triangle right here. And I could make it even larger. So I could go up here and set my top, but then I could make it even larger. So totally, again, up to you and how you want to quilt it. And it makes it even larger, but it's kind of a fun look, and it's very decorative, just like at Christmas time. So this could be a fun design for you to try as well. I am going to tack it down as I go, but I'm not going to show you what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to let you wait and see what it's going to look like when I join you live. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and don't forget to share and subscribe. Also follow our Instagram and visit our website at graceframe.com, or contact your local dealer. I'm Carla Jerome, and thank you for joining me today. I'll see you. Bye-bye.
There we go. Thank you, Carla, for finishing that up. That was awesome to have. And by the way, welcome.
Hi.
So Jana's joining us here, another account executive. She's actually an assistant manager here of our team that deals with literally all of the consumers around the globe that we might get custom questions from. And then obviously we have Jared, who I know contacts Jana quite frequently. So thanks for being with us. That was fun to see from Carla. That was her using kind of automation as a finishing. I know there's other methods as well. And then we have another segment coming up, and be with us because we're going to do a giveaway right now. So some live giveaways from those who've been with us. And we're also going to choose a couple from the pre-registrants, and then so stay with us. But really quick, share with me a little bit on your thoughts on the automation piece versus maybe free motion quilting.
Yeah. Automation is so amazing for several reasons. One, it helps you do designs more precisely than maybe you could do with your own free motion, or if you're doing pantograph and then you're tracing along there. So that helps you design your quilt all the way from edge to edge, and have to do borders and corners and all those pieces. So it's great to have that kind of precise designs as you're going along.
And Jared, I know that in Canada, that again, this is an option that most people don't think about out of the gate. So automation is something that can be added. Again, we talked previously. Yes, you can even add it to the Cutie frame, and we talked about several different frames, variation of machines, and then the entire Unique lineup, the 15s, the 19s, the 21s. Jared, why don't you just share with us briefly what your thoughts are regarding automation, and why might somebody consider this, or why might somebody want to stick to something like doing the ruler work with the ruler base or other accessories like that?
Okay. So I personally really like automation. Part of it's because I get to skip to the end. Normally, if I wanted to learn how to do a free motion pattern as gorgeous as all the work that Carla does, it's going to take me a while to figure that out. Instead, I get to, if I load up a pattern into the quilting automation, I can quilt that out right now. I don't have to wait. There's that instant gratification of having a gorgeous quilt right from the start. Quilting rulers are another way that maybe you'd want that kind of precise quilting, like you would get from automation, but without having the expense, because automation is kind of a pricey item to add on. But the rulers, there's so many different rulers, so many different ways you can make your quilt decorated in creative ways, using quilting rulers, but you get some of that precision. So it's kind of this nice halfway in between. The other thing that's really popular in Western Canada is paper pantographs, where you're going to use rear handles and a laser stylus. That laser will then follow the design. You'll move the machine and it'll follow the design, and then you'll get that duplicated repeating pattern on your quilt, all without having to put in the expense of getting the big automation. But I still love the automation for that instant gratification. My favorite is, someone wants to make a design, we put it into a Google search looking for a design with an appropriate file type for the automation, and we can find something just like that and be quilting it in minutes. So I love the automation for that kind of flexibility and ease of use.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I know I'm that way. In fact, I've done some everybody wonders like, oh, have you ever done a quilt? I'll tell you, I've never pieced a quilt, but I have quilted and finished several. And one of those was a major project actually that was done for the New York Fashion Show, to be honest with you.
Wow, that's awesome.
I reached out to another organization. They said, hey, this guy wants a 60-inch embroidery as one of these drapes. By the way, he wants it on tulle, which is like tutu material. Like that doesn't exist, but I took the challenge on and I used automation, designed it. And because automation is smart enough, I was able to do that on a 15-inch machine. And I did it. It's a 60-inch circle with different pieces on tulle with metallic threads. So
wow.
Isn't that really cool? Love it as well. But I also have free motion on some of the quilts. I have a man quilt on my bed. It's a big one, part automation, part free motion quilting as well. So it's been really fun. With that, Jared, let's do some giveaways. Let's get into here. And we're going to talk briefly about what these are. So, Jared, this is going to be part of the Quilters combo. And this is dealing with the True Cut. So, Jared, one of the things that I did is I went and looked and quickly pulled up on Grace Frame Canada's website here. Let me go to that. And I just pulled up the website because these items are for sale right now on the website. It is an availability where somebody can look at buying any one of these items. Really quick, Jana, so what Jared has decided to give away is what we call our Quilters combo. And you'll have to go buy these separately. It includes 3 items, which is the 45 ergonomic cutter, our largest ruler, which is the 6.5 by 24.5, and the True Grips. And so with that, maybe just share why should somebody consider the True Cut system? Why is it the perfect stocking stuffer?
Oh, yeah.
You could talk about.
Yeah, a True Cut is amazing. When I first started with the Grace Company, I was so amazed at everything that True Cut has to offer. So on the rulers themselves, it's the safest and most accurate. So when you're usually cutting along a ruler and there's that ability to like veer off slightly, and if you have your hand in the wrong spot, you could cut just there the tip. I know I've had issues with that and other people. Or you're cutting off slightly from the fabric, and so your cuts aren't perfectly straight. So with the True Cut, though, we have a edge system where the cutter connects right to the edge of the ruler, and it has that perfect system so that it's not you can't move the cutter without moving the ruler. And so you're going to have exact cuts, precision, and it's completely safe as well.
And Jared, with this is what the package is going to be that we're going to be giving away. Now, Jared was very kind. And what he did is he said, hey, Nathan, let's do some for some registrants. So 3 people that we pulled who had participated in register. We're going to do 2 from those that are live with us. So what I'd like to do, Jared, on those live, if you want to look through that and start deciding. So what I'd like to throw out is a question. So what would be a good question? And everybody can participate would be, share with me. We did a Would You Rather I did yesterday, and these were fun. It's like, I'm not sure if you've ever heard Would You Rather. Would you rather do A or B? And the one I thought I could do that, everybody could comment on in your comments. One would be, would you rather laugh like Santa or would you rather talk like an elf? So give me an answer. Would you rather, every time you laugh, you're all the time, or you're talking like an elf? And I don't know what I'd say if I'm talking like, I don't know if that's how I talk like an elf or something, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So go ahead and throw that in the comment. That would
that's
be
exciting.
So again, anybody who's with us, and I see a lot of people talking about so many choices, people thanking Carla for sharing and talking a little bit more about her system. We talked a little bit about threads. So these are just some comments from those. Christine Smith talked about the variegated threads. Those are fun to use as well. This was Robin talking about how easy it maybe was looking with the automation system and finishing it up. A couple of these from TY Carla. So again, we appreciate everybody's comments. Right now, what we're looking for is, would you rather laugh like Santa or talk like an elf? What we're going to do is we're going to look through this. We're going to choose 2 winners from this platform that we're going to go ahead and what we'll do is take this down really quick for the winner. You need to contact Jared at info. So you need to contact and reach out to info@graceframe.com. That's info at graceframe.com. These are going to be for the 2 live winners we're going to select right now. Stay with us because we do have another video segment in which, following that, Jared, what's the big giveaway today?
We're going to give away a Cutie tabletop frame. We've talked about it a whole bunch, and we are so excited to be able to give one of these away to a lucky quilter.
So the Cutie tabletop frame, I think, along with the bungees is what you're including, and a set of finesse threads. So stick with us. That'll be coming up shortly. But right now, again, take down info because we're going to be doing some winners here, and then we're going to ask for the Cutie winner to also reach out to info@graceframe.com. If you're interested and you're wanting to know how might you take advantage of the current boxing sale that is happening with the Boxing Day event sale that is going on right now, and is active with our Gracewood Canada team up there with Jared and his team, feel free to call them 1-844-764-7223. Again, that's 1-844-764-7223. Great one to contact. And you might say, well, where is this? If you want to go to the website, that is www.graceframe.ca. Again, graceframe.ca to see all those wonderful specials. And right now, Jared, I'm going to bring this up on screen again. Give me a second. Now, again, this pricing is actually a U.S. pricing. It's actually more expensive in Canada. Jared, do you know what the MSRP value is on this in Canada?
It's a little under $100. It's like a $95 value.
So about $95 value?
Yeah.
Awesome. So this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be including that 6.5 by 24.5 ruler, the ergonomic comfort cutter, and the True Grips as part of that. With that, Jared, let's go ahead and pull up a couple things. Do you have any one of our people that you're wanting to select? What we'd like to do is somebody from the YouTube platform, somebody from the Facebook platform, if we can, to split the win. We're going to get 2 combos away.
Yeah. So let me see who's answered. All right. So then, well, let's go with Robin Anderson.
Okay, so here we go. So we're going to be selecting Robin Anderson.
Great job,
Robin. You have been very active. Thank you for all of yours. She says, I would like to laugh like Santa. And I was talking the other day, I was mentioning, like, what if we had, like, our conference room, right? And we're all in there, and also we're all, wouldn't that be hilarious?
That would be so fun.
The entire team's doing that. And you had people talking like elves, then I would be laughing like Santa. That would be pretty cool.
That'd be insane, yeah.
So congratulations, Robin Anderson. Robin, we're going to ask for you to email info@graceframe.com. Congratulations. That is our quilters combo. Fantastic. Just so you know, when I demonstrate this product, I always tell them, oh, you're not going to want to come over here. And they say, well, why? I'm like, because if you already have a cutter and you see the solutions that we're providing with the ergonomics, the patented components that lock, track, and guide, locking the cutter to the track, you're not going to want to ever use any other system. And it literally is the most ergonomic cutter. I personally designed this cutter, which is really interesting. Started with a baked clay piece. But we've had quilters who have not been able to quilt like at all because they didn't have the strength to hold. They can now actually quilt because of the design of this cutter. So, and with the True Grip, it's wonderful. So Robin Anderson, all right, good, congratulations. Next winner
Off of the commenters is Karen Ridge.
Karen Ridge, congratulations, Karen. Thank you for being with us today. We're just saying thank you to Carla. Let's find hers. She also would like to laugh like Santa. That's the one I would choose, by the way. I think so that too. Would work well. So Karen Ridge, we're going to ask for, again, the 2 winners that just did that. Reach out to info@graceframe.com. We're going to announce 3 additional winners right now. So we also have 3 additional winners that we'll be reaching out to that, again, have submitted their names as part of this process. And the winners that we're going to also give would be Susan Johnson. So Susan, if you see this later, you might wonder why your name was part of the event. So thank you very much. Congratulations. We had a Lorraine Toretta, who also is a winner of this Quilters combo, and a Dana Escobar. So we have, again, a total of 5 winners that we just did. Way to go. Thank you, Jared. That's just about $500 of goods that we're giving away, which is wonderful. Stick with us. What we're going to do is, Jana, you have a video. Now, just kind of give us a little bit of a pre-glimpse of what this video is. And we did have one earlier where we did a Carla with a trunk show, and we went through some history on some frames. You are going to go into a little bit more detail, I believe, and part of what this would be in a decision, right, that they're needing to make.
Yeah. So some of the questions we always get is, what frame or machine should I get for my area? So this video is going to cover all of that information for your frame, what you have to consider, what pieces are you looking at, and what will work best for you.
Now, with that, I have heard, again, as I watched parts and pieces of this video, that it has helped a lot of people with their key questions that they've had as they've watched this video. So stay with us, because we're going to be watching this video that's a little over 20 minutes, and then we're going to come back and we're going to choose our big winner, which is that Cutie combo, which is the Cutie tabletop frame. Jared, that's valued at what again up in Canada?
The Cutie tabletop frame retails for $1,299.
So just under $1,300. We're going to be giving that away, along with the bungees and an 8-pack of finesse thread, which is phenomenal thread, which we'll come back and talk about. But with that, thank you very much, Jana, for being with us, for joining us. We're going to talk a little bit. We'll have some questions for you following this, but we're going to go ahead and get that video started. So thanks for sticking with us as we go through this Boxing Day event live stream.
Thanks for joining us today. We are both so excited to talk about frames and how to choose the best frame and the correct frame for you. My name is Mark.
I'm Jana.
And we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We have several frames we want to talk about. And the reason why we're talking about frames, Jana, is we want to make sure you choose the right frame for you, because there are a lot of questions that you should be thinking about before buying a frame. We don't want to have the impulse buy. Right? Impulse buy can lead you to another purchase. We want to make sure that you have a checklist, and we'll go over some of these questions before we choose a frame. But Jana, let's look at some of the questions that you may consider before purchasing a frame.
Now, one thing I always talk to people about to think about, number one, is your space. What kind of space do you have? Do you have a large room, a small room, dedicated space? Or is it just going to be on the side? So that's number one, Mark, that I always ask people, what space do you have? Second, your budget. How much are you going to spend on this frame and other accessories? Because that can be a huge thing for you of how much money you've got and where you're taking it.
What's nice about the Grace frames is you can put your own machine on the frame all the way up to our large 21-inch machines.
Yeah.
If you haven't thought about a checklist, do so, because that is really, really huge on making sure that the right frame is being purchased. In this segment, we're going to talk about several frames we have in front of us. We have a Cutie frame and our hoop frame, and behind us we have a couple rolling rail frames, our Queen and our King frame. And these frames, they can do a lot of different things. Some frames can do only certain sizes of quilts, right?
That's one thing to consider. Also, how you're going to be doing quilting, right? We've got the frames in front of us. Mark mentioned the Q zone. Are you going to be doing quilting in zones and not all at once? So that's something to consider as well.
That's right. Jana, the other day you were telling me an experience you had with a customer who bought the frame and wasn't really working out. Maybe if she asked maybe some of the questions, she could have just bought the right frame first and not need to buy a second frame. So what other stories do we know of that people have talked to us and we have these experiences?
Yeah, one person, the one that Mark's referring to, she had gotten a Q zone frame, but she'd never quilted with a zone before. And she realized that really wasn't the quilting type of quilting she wanted to do. It was a little bit more confusing for her. It can work out for a lot of other people though. Another thing to consider is if you're getting a large frame, if it's the exact same size of the room that you're doing, if it's 12 feet, it's exactly 12 feet, you're not going to be able to get around the back of that frame either. So that's something to consider when you're thinking about size.
That's really big. My wife, she has a 10-foot frame in our room, and it's wall to wall. So if she wants to go behind it to do any pantograph work or any kind of tracing in the back, she has to crawl underneath the frame just to get behind there. So yeah, if it fits exactly in your room, and that's fine. If it fits in your room perfect, and that's okay, you may not want to go behind your frame, that's totally fine. But consider one of the questions is, do I want to work behind my frame? If so, you want to have some clearance behind or around the wall so you can get behind the frame. So there are questions to be asked. Again, get out your checklist. Size, space, what machine am I looking to use, cost, dedicated.
That's true.
Do I want to travel with it? You can actually travel with one of our frames, which makes it really, really nice.
That makes it very nice,
right?
yeah.
The Cutie frame is one that's been very, very popular. It's popular with so many reasons. One of the reasons is you don't have a dedicated space. You don't need a dedicated space. How does this Cutie frame is set up in the home? What do you need to get this Cutie frame into your room?
You need a flat surface. That sounds pretty easy. I've talked to some people who said, well, my flat surface in my home is my coffee table. So that's where they set up their Cutie when they're quilting. And that's the nice thing about the Cutie is it's not having to be there all the time.
So the Cutie is 4 feet and it adjusts.
Adjust at the top.
Yep, adjust at the top. So you need at least 4 foot in length and anywhere from 27 to about 33 inches for the bottom, so for the bottom to sit on a table. If you have one of those in your room, perfect, you're ready to go. The Cutie frame is yours. With the Cutie frame, you can use your own domestic machine on there, all the way up to a 19 machine, and we'll show you how it adjusts. But as we look at the Cutie frame, as you can see in front of us, the Cutie frame is on this folding table. It's not one of those special tables. It's just one of those tables you can either get at Costco or at your local store that has these folding tables. And so as we look at the Cutie frame, there are a couple of things that I want to point out. One thing that I want to look at is sacrificing. When we look at the Cutie frame, there are some things when you're considering a frame that you don't want to give up.
Yeah.
Right? Ratchets. Ratchets is one that on a rolling rail frame keeps your fabric all nice and taut, and you don't want to give that up. Size of quilt. What if I want to do a king size quilt? Can I do one on this frame, Jana?
Yes, you can do any size quilt on this frame. That's the beauty of the Cutie.
That is so fantastic because it is only 4 feet and I can do a king size quilt. So if you have space for a cutting table in your sewing room, this Cutie frame can go right on top of your cutting table. This Cutie frame has square tubing, and the reason why it has square tubing is for our blue clips that have ridges. And so I'm going to get a nice close-up look on these ridges. And as you can see, those ridges go around the square tubing. So that is your ratcheting system. That is perfect. It is simple. It is easy. This clips right onto the rail.
And it clips on the front. It has that ratchet system on the front and sides.
That's right. So the sides has it all over. And we need them on all 4 sides because it is a frame that your fabric can drape over the sides. So we need to make sure that all 4 sides of this rail has those ratchet systems. So now your fabric can be nice and taut. Now with this frame, you need to have a top plate for your machine. So this actually comes with a nice top plate. And this top plate, this is where your domestic machine will sit. So one of the questions that we mentioned earlier is, what machine am I looking to use? And if you have a machine that you already own, that you feel comfortable with, that you like, you can put that machine right onto this top plate. And now you're using your own machine on this Cutie. And Jana, there are so many stories that we know of that people using their own machine on this frame. Why is that so awesome that they can get a Cutie frame using their own machine? What does that do to their level of confidence?
Well, number one, you no longer have to send your quilt tops out to get quilted, right? You're doing it in your home. Number two, the Cutie fits almost anywhere that there's a flat surface. So you're not only limited to what you can do in a larger space. And three, it travels really well. Mark was mentioning to me the other day, someone was talking about putting it out on their patio and quilting outside.
What are some of the struggles if you're doing a large quilt on a sit-down table?
Number one, if it's large quilt, like a king, I'm wrestling the quilt constantly. It's going over my shoulder, it's hanging off of the side, because I've got to move it underneath the machine.
That's right.
But with the Cutie, your machine moves on top of the quilt.
That's right. But there's a couple other things I want to show you on this frame that's pretty unique to the Cutie. One is when you have your own machine on and you want to use that same machine for piecing, you need to take the machine on and off the frame. Where the Cutie makes that very simple. There are no tools needed to remove this bar that goes to the throat of your machine. So let's go ahead and show this as we look at it. So go ahead and get that side, and I'll grab this side. You can see right at the top here, all we're doing is sliding this piece off the top, and that allows us now to take this rail out. How simple is that? Super simple, very nice, and there's no tools needed. That is just crazy, Jenna, that you can just take your machine on and off this frame as simple as that. So that's another nice feature, and it's very simple to put right back on. Now, earlier we talked about machines. You can start out with your domestic machine on the Cutie frame.
Yeah, because you have the carriage.
You have the carriage.
And it can hold an 11.5-inch base.
Yep.
So just think about that. And a throat up to 19 inches.
Now let's adjust the front rail here to show how easy it is to adjust for 19 inches. We simply just move this lever up, and now you can pull this side out, right? And so this side can come out, and you can see now we can go as far as we want to fit 19 inches. And so that space, that is huge. Now let's look at the other part of the carriage system. This is the bottom part of the carriage. It uses the same ball bearing wheels as our larger frames do, but they're just so cute and so tiny. I'm going to flip this over and just show at the back side here how nice those are. So these are the ball bearing wheels that go on the carriage, because we want to make sure that the carriage runs smooth, right?
Smooth. Nobody wants any skips in their quilts.
That's right. Let's go ahead and put that back on. All right. If you're going down your checklist and space is an issue, and that's why you have a sit-down table, consider the Cutie frame. Let's show them how easy it is to put the fabric on the Cutie frame. So let's go ahead and take these off. It's a very simple process. One person can do this. All right. So let's go ahead and put this on front. Okay, go ahead and pull that side. We'll do a long ways here. So here is the fabric. So what we're doing is we're draping over the entire 4 sides. This is what we call hooping the fabric or zoning the fabric. So you can see on the far side it's draped over, and on this side. So it's really very similar to embroidery systems. So if you're familiar with embroidery systems, it's really no different. You have your fabric quilt clipped down, and we can adjust it. So you can hang it over the side.
And it doesn't matter how much it hangs over to the side.
It doesn't. Yeah. You can do a king, you can do a California king, a table runner. It doesn't matter the size. All that matters is you want it nice and taut, right?
Right.
So we already have the fabric on, so let's go ahead and put the clips on there now.
And we're starting with the back first.
All right, and we'll go ahead and put the front ones on. You want to give me yours.
And this is where you see that ratchet system in action.
That's right. And we'll get the side. Put it in the right. Okay. So that is now the fabric attached. So we can see that it hangs over the side. And with the handlebars, that goes out front. And so with it hanging, I'm going to go ahead and put the handlebars right back on. Let me grab the back end there. Okay. So with it being in front, we need to access those handlebars. And so we don't want those covered. So we design on the frame to be able to roll it up and keep it all nice and looking good. So let's go ahead and roll this back side up. And again, I just can't stress how simple and how fun this is. And fun may be a weird word, but when you're doing your large quilts and you have the right tools Absolutely, it can be fun, right? You're enjoying what you're doing, and then doing this process is not long. It doesn't take any time, really.
And you're getting much more quilts done than you could in the past.
That's right. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the front here. And we're going to just go ahead and roll this up. These bungees come with the frame. They're attached, and it just makes it really simple to attach around. Okay. So there we go. That could be your king size quilt. And this is just on a table. So you have your own machine on the Cutie on the table.
The other thing I like about this, Mark, is rolling it up on the back. I'm rolling it up itself, not on the rail. So I'm not losing any space for my throat like I would if it was rolled up on the rail.
And that's a good thing to consider, because if you are using the Cutie with your own machine, and your own machine has a 9-inch throat, well, we all know how much throat space can be left with a large quilt on a rolling rail frame, right? You can lose that throat space. With a Cutie, you won't lose that throat space because, like you mentioned, Jana, this is a soft roll that's on top of the fabric, and so you have that full mobility of your 9-inch machine. So Cutie frame, again, if you're looking to move away from your sit down or a dedicated space that you want to be able to have it for a Cutie, you have it on your flat, any flat surface, the Cutie is the way to go. Now, as you mentioned, the Q-Zone hoop frame is similar to the Cutie frame. However, this has legs.
It has legs, and it's a little bit larger. Where you had only 4 feet with the Cutie, you now have 4.5 feet with the Q-Zone hoop.
That's right. So it's a little larger, and you have legs. So you now have a little dedicated spot for the hoop. Again, you can do large quilts, king, queen, or smaller on the hoop frame. Now, on this hoop frame, we have a couple versions of this hoop frame. This right here is our Q-Zone Hoop Pro. Our Hoop Pro and our Hoop Standard are two of the same. The process is the same. This Hoop Pro comes with a couple accessories that the Standard doesn't have.
Yeah, it comes with this table insert that's on the Pro. You'll notice it has the 2 tracks here in the back and the front that the carriage rides on instead of just a single track. And then it also comes with the leader claws. And that'll help you add your fabric and keep it tight.
That's right. So this is the same process as the Cutie. So hooping the fabric, we actually did the same thing. So this particular frame has ratchets as well, much like the Cutie,
the
built
square
in.
rails.
Yes. Yeah. Yep, built in. So this hoop frame has these white quilt clips that acts as your ratcheting systems. So let's go ahead and take one of these off. Okay, perfect. And so these ratchets or these grooves are your ratcheting mechanisms. So again, through your square tubing, you simply put that on, and that is where you're going to be ratcheting.
As you can see, it's clearly easier to come around than the larger systems. And so if you're going to be doing a lot of pantographs or designs on the back, that gives you that option to easily come to the back. And it can be raised or lowered, so you can sit at it, and there's no metal bar in the middle if you're using a foot pedal, or you can raise it up and use it while you're standing.
That's right. Now, both the Cutie and the hoop, they're perfect, again, for your home machine, because you can sit. All right, so the hoop frame, and let's go ahead, we have a quilt here. Let's just go ahead and put this one on as well. And what we're going to do on this one, we are going to hang it over your side, Jana, just to show. Okay, so let's say we want to do a quilt this size, and we absolutely can. Okay, let's put the back one. And with this one, we can only put the 2. We don't need a 3rd. Okay, so it's all nice and taut. With the bungee you can get as an accessory, you could put that simply on the one side and now have the bungee so it's nice and taut. So now we have our fabric on the hoop frame. And when we're done quilting this area, you simply just take these clips off, just like you did when you put them on. You take them off, you hoop your fabric, and you keep doing that over and over again until you're done quilting. And these as well have the bungees that like the Cutie does.
Has those straps on the front, on the back. It doesn't have it on the front though, because the carriage for this one has the handles up above. It doesn't do it on the bottom like on the Cutie frame.
That's right. Okay, so Jana, wonderful 2 options if you're considering space saving, you want to do large quilts, but you don't want to sacrifice a lot in your room. Your room is already full of stuff.
Quilts.
Well,
you got it full quilts.
That's right. These will be perfect. Now we have the frame behind us, the Q-Zone Queen. The Q-Zone Queen is a queen frame that you can only do queen size quilts. Now the Q-Zone Queen has a couple different features than the frames we talked about earlier. One main one is the rails. The rails roll your fabric, and so as we advance the fabric, you're rolling it on the rails, which a lot of people love. A lot of people love that aspect of rolling the fabric, right?
Right. They also, because you're rolling it on the fabric, that makes a difference on which machine you can use, because now it's going to affect the throat space because it's rolling up on the rail.
That's big. So again, the questions that you're asking yourself is, if I need a queen and I'm only doing a queen frame or queen quilt and smaller, but I want to use my own machine, because this back rail builds the fabric, you may consider doing a larger frame because you lose that throw space. We do have a compatibility list that talks about what machines are compatible with either our speed control or our regulator, so check that out. But with this frame, because you can do a queen size quilt or smaller, that may be ideal for you. You could also add the 19. So what's nice is, let's go and take these clips off here. And these clips, is easy to remove. Now, I'm going to just pull one side out here, and you can see this can adjust. So with this adjusting, you now can go from a domestic machine to a larger throat machine, keeping the same frame. So with the clips here that simply put on, that keeps the fabric nice and taut, easy. So we have the Q-Zone Queen with the ratchet systems. And so as we turn the fabric, it will ratchet, as you can hear there. So that will keep the fabric nice and taut. So we have a ratchet systems. If you have room for an 8-foot frame and you want to have a rolling rail, this will be the frame for you.
This is the one to pick.
That's the one to pick. Last but not least, our Continuum frame is our most sought out frame. It is what we call our professional frame, but you don't need to be a professional to use this frame.
No, it's true, because usually it's the people who are doing hobby stuff that want to go big at the beginning, and so they just want to try out that professional stuff and realize you don't need to be professional to use it.
No, you don't have to be. So the Continuum frame, this is a 8-foot frame, a 10-foot frame, or a 12-foot frame. And you can get a 2-foot extension, Jana. So if you buy an 8-foot frame now, you can get a 2-foot extension and make it a 10. Same thing with a 10. You can buy a 10-foot frame and make it a 12-foot frame. So you have 3 options in the Continuum line for your best needs. And again, what space you're looking to put this in and what machine. You know, ask yourself those questions before you look at buying what size of frame. The Continuum frame, as you can see, has 3 rails with options to buy an idler bar and a batting bar. And those are really, really huge.
The batting bar comes at the bottom and holds the batting. You can see it kind of hanging down there a little bit. And then the idler rail, where does that go, Mark? It goes up here on the top?
Yeah, it does. It goes right through the throat of the machine. So if you have a larger Unique machines, you can put the idler bar in there, which makes it really, really nice. Because this bottom rail, when it gets bigger, you want to make sure it doesn't rub on the throat of your machine. So you do have accessories for the Continuum frame. The Continuum frame also has the nice side bungees right over by you, where you can get the bungees and come right over. It has the ratchet systems. So the Continuum frame has a nice ratchet system on the right side. You have bungees on both sides. You have options for an idler bar, a batting bar, and other accessories for your machine. It's a very easy frame to put together. Again, an 8-foot, 10-foot, or 12-foot frame. So you do have some questions to consider when you're buying these types of frames, especially the size and the cost.
And another thing that you just mentioned, Mark, was about that rail getting the quilt on the side. So that's something to consider on which machine you're going to use on the frame. You can use the Qnique 15, 19, and 21. Your domestic machine can fit on there, but again, you have to take into account how much of that quilt's going to be on that rail and causing that throat space to disappear for what you're quilting.
That's right. And also with the foot pedal, if you're using your domestic machine, there is a middle leg here that you're going to have to move your foot pedal the length of the frame to use. So again, check out our compatibility list on our website to see if you're compatible with a speed control or a regulator. Then you can use that without any worries. But the continuum frame, there's so many nice features on the continuum frame, from easy adjusting of this back rail, pulling this front rail out to adjust for smaller machines or larger machines, height adjustability, easy to assemble. You know, the list goes on with the continuum frame.
Yeah, and whenever you're choosing which frame and machine works best for you, like we've said in the past, your dreams can become a reality of quilting for other people and sharing that quilt and those quilts that you're making with your friends and family. So you want to make that ability, no matter what you're picking, making it easier for you to make that happen.
That's right. So Jana, thank you so much. It was so fun to talk about these frames, the differences between each one. And I know we have a lot of information on these frames on our YouTube page as well. So subscribe to our YouTube page to get more information. Also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And again, there's a lot of you out there who like, oh, I know someone who can benefit from this, or you're thinking about other people in your family or your relatives that may need certain frames for their situation. So again, like it with them, you know, like our page, share it with them so that they now have this knowledge of what frame is best. But again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Well, there we go. Thank you, Gianna, for that. I know that was a bit of time when you guys put that together. It was very purposeful. We'll come back to this briefly here in just a minute again. But again, that's a great reference. If you ever need to come back and look at that, just know because this was live, these will both be residing on Grace Canada's Facebook, Grace Canada's YouTube. And also for the next couple of weeks, what we'll do is the platform, which I just want to show you. You can come back in to rewatch videos here and also get some of the free patterns. Right now with Carla's tree skirt, that pattern is free and it's availability for you to come and download as well. So I just wanted, Jared, if you're okay, for me to kind of quickly walk through some of that. And I think you might be muted as well, but let's go ahead and take a quick look at this. I'm going to bring up the website for us to take another gander at. I'm going to go through a couple screens here with everybody, and then we're going to do our big drawing for the winner, the Cutie tabletop frame. So we're really excited about that. So here we go. This is the site. And I wanted to talk, Jared, we just gave away the Quilters combo. And so I thought I would come back in here and talk about why would True Cut be something. Now, again, you can go look at this on Grace Canada's site. They do have True Cut as an available option. These are perfect stocking stuffers. They solve the biggest cutting challenges you have today with the tools that you have at home. These are great complementary products, and or they can be replacement. And what I mean by that is the rulers work with your cutters if you already have cutters. The cutters, if you go buy the ergonomic, can work with your existing rulers. However, when you get them together and there's this combo, this set, you're going to find that there are patented technologies and solutions that you just can't find with any other set. So this is kind of showing you the ergonomics and that track and that rail that the machine kind of, the cutter has as it works over the guide on the rulers. This shows you how ergonomic, and this is, again, the layout, and it really does allow your wrist to be straight and removes the challenging and the stress in the arms and the elbows and your fingers. A couple of our cutters now have the quick release, which is really, really nice. You're going to find that there are many other things like blade sharpeners, both manual and electric. Yes, they do work with multiple blades from multiple brands, 28 millimeter, 45 millimeter, 60 millimeter. Again, one other thing to know is that if you have questions, again, now Janet and Mark just answered several of those, you can come to graceframe.ca, and underneath their top tab under machine frames, you'll find all sorts of wonderful information that you can then take a look at to get answers to your questions. So that, or you can reach out. Let me just bring this up really quick. You can also, one of the great things is just get a hold of them with a quick call. This is their number that you can call is 1-844-764-7223. Again, that number is 1-844-764-7223. So feel free to reach out to them. to get in contact. Again, this is the website where you can look at everybody, all those up in Canada. You can go to graceframe.ca, www.graceframe.ca, and get access to that. Now, take this down again because we're going to do a giveaway, and we're going to ask for the winner to reach back out to Jared up there, and you're going to need to contact Jared here at info@graceframe.com. So these are a couple things I wanted to show you with one additional item here. Looking at the site again, remember that if you're on Grace Canada site, at the very front, you're going to find Boxing Day. If you click on this, it will bring you into the platform that is part of what we have. And this is where you can get access to that free tree skirt, the tree skirt pattern set. And then again, you can also access the sale also on graceframes.ca's main site up top. If you click on this, this will bring up all the other things that are on sale as well. So if you're interested in that Cutie tabletop, you can come on here. You'll see its pricing. It's I call it kind of its big brother pricing. There's also pricing on the machines on their own, machines in combos, and with certain machines. And don't get too dizzy. I just want to come down here to let you see. There are also a few extra major accessory packs that Jared and his team are doing up there for all of those that are participating and want to take advantage of these extra special Boxing Day sales. So if you're getting one of the bigger machines, you're going to be getting other accessories that are valued up to $1,500. That's light bars, finesse thread sets, ruler bases, hopping feet, and some Leah Day kit rulers as well. So there's a wonderful package that is happening right now as we're in here, and Boxing Day's coming up. But this is the month, this is the time. Get it ahead, get it so you can have it for Christmas. Put them in your stockings.
Yeah.
Give it to your loved ones, and then take them with you on the road. So coming back, Jared and Jana here, really quick. You were telling me a funny story about the Cutie, and I'm just going to go back to this because we hear all sorts of stories. And then, Jared, what I'd like to do is kind of have you share some last thoughts with us after we hear Jana's story, and then let's go ahead and select a window that we would have for that Cutie. That new Cutie combo that we're going to be doing. So, Jana, go ahead, share a little bit with us on the story that you had regarding the Cutie here.
Yeah. So previously we talked about the Cutie being such a great travel piece that you can take it RVing, you can take it to your quilt guild meetings, all that kind of things. So we've had a customer who've called in. She is actually a long haul trekker with her husband, and so she puts it in the back in the sleeper, and she quilts when they stop for the night. And then she takes orders from the other trekkers, and then that's how she supplements her income. But she's quilting in the back of a sleeper for the trekking company. Yeah.
Love hearing that. That's things are happening in different places that we never thought quilting was going to be where it would be happening. So, and it's fun that she's using this little frame just to also do supplementary pieces for her income. That's the great thing about the Grace products is you can start with your own home domestic machine and accessorize them. You can get into the mid arms, and we also have professional, both 19 and 21 systems that really can be used for businesses as well. Most of our customers aren't there. Most of our customers are coming because they have, as I saw in the comment here earlier, the UFOs, right? Your unfinished objects, your quilts, stacks of them. You have a lot of other quilts you would love to make, but you're like, if I make them, then I feel obligated to finish them, and finishing them, I'm either quilting by check or I'm struggling with my own domestic machine. And Grace Company has been built by solving the problems. Usually what we find is that a lot of quilters will ask us, hey, do you have this solution? Hey, this is frustrating. Boy, I sure wish. And we get tired. We actually have to say, no, we don't have that. No, I'm sorry. And finally, we're like, man, there are so many people that need this. Let's go ahead and provide that solution. That even includes the finesse thread. So as one of the gift packs, I know, Jared, that you're doing here, we're going to be doing that thread, the 8-pack of finesse thread. We created that because we know that you love your threads as much as you love your patterns and as much as you love choosing your fabrics. Threads are one, but if you start getting into quilting and you start doing medium to large size projects, you're buying multiple 500-yard spools, or you have to overcommit. What store are you going to go into that has cone thread, and is it 6,000 yards? You know, you can't use serger threads because that's a thread that's not strong enough to use. So what is it? Well, I wanted to do Christmas. I wanted to use green, and I'm going to go buy green, but then what other quilt am I going to put green on? So you're stuck with yards, you know, not only hundreds, but potentially thousands of unused. The finesse thread has 1,500 meters, 1,500 yards per spool, which is awesome. So I call it project-based thread, and there are 60 colors, and half of those are variegated. So they're those variations, and so people love them. So Jared, let's come back to you. Let's hear some of your last thoughts that you would like to share as we do this, and then let's go ahead and give away that combo. set that you've got for everybody today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nathan. I'm so happy to be able to have a presentation like this. I've been asked by Canadians again and again, asked by quilters all over the country, hey, where can I find more information? How can I find stuff? And so I'm so grateful to the Grace Company, to Nathan, to Jana, to Mark, to Melinda, to Laurel, for helping make this happen, to help bring this to the quilters who have been desperately wanting something like this. I'm so happy that they've brought out some very exciting products and that they're helping us do this kind of giveaway just before Christmas. What a wonderful opportunity. The Cutie frame, which we've talked about quite a bit, is just a nice little frame. It's not very big, not very expensive. By comparison to some of the other frames and quilting systems. So you can really get started at a fraction of the price that you might have been looking at a few years ago. I think that's it, actually. I'm so grateful for everybody. I'm grateful for all of you viewers and the people who are live watching. Thank you for spending time on your Friday to watch these presentations, and let's give some stuff away.
Awesome. And with that, Jared, if somebody's coming and you're happening to not be on our live with us and you're reaching out and you're seeing this over the next couple of weeks, reach back out to Grace Frame Canada. I know that they've got these sales going on, and again, they're for a limited time. It's exciting. Boxing Day is coming up. I know, like Black Friday here in the US, it's a big shopping day. I believe it actually falls on a Sunday, so let's start doing some online shopping. I know, Jared, that your team's up and ready to go. With that 800 number, and again, with that email. And then again, it's just really easy to place orders online as well. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for the Grace team. I appreciate a lot of our account executive team joining us as well and helping fill in, talking about the videos, talking about what you're hearing from quilters that are out there. Thank you for joining us from all around. So Jared, I'm going to kind of bring this back to you and see how you want to go ahead and select this final winner of what this big one is. Let me kind of see if I have a picture I can bring up here. Again, what we're going to be giving away is the Cutie. The value of this frame in Canada actually is just under $1,300. I think $1,299 Canadian dollars. It is the frame. The frame stands on its own that you can use with the domestic machine. You can also, and one other thing he is adding in there are the bungees, which are some side tension clamps, and he's adding the finesse thread. So he is also adding in actually these 4 solids and these 4 variegateds, because that's what comes in what we call the 8-pack, which are the 4 most popular solids, the 4 most popular variegateds as part of that set. So that's a pretty wonderful combo. I'll tell you, it's a great way to get started with your own home machine. If not, maybe you can share it and use it with your domestic or share it with a friend. But I'm pretty sure most people here, it's going to be a great add-on to what you already have as an accessory. So, Jared, thoughts again on how you would like to give away this last big prize?
So for you that are watching, how about we write down, I want you to write something in the comments. What should I have them write? One of the frames from the previous video. So the video of Mark and Jana, just write down any one of the frames that they listed. So they listed a bunch of them. And there was a whole bunch of them, but any one of them, any of the frames that the Grace Company sells. A wonderful company, makes wonderful frames. Any frame.
So again, what Jared's asking is put down the name of any one of the frames that we heard in that previous section. We're going to give everybody a minute to put their comments in. We know that some of this is a little delayed. So while we're waiting for people to put comments in, whether you're on the Facebook platform, the YouTube platform, or the Grace platform, go ahead and throw your entry in there. And then Jared, we'll go ahead and have you, when you're ready, give me the name of a selected winner, but we're going to let this fill in. In the meantime, one last time here, let me do this. Let me bring this back up on screen for us. Just understand and know that you can go to the Grace Frame website. There's a lot of information. It's also where all the specials are at. There's details not only on individual products, but combos. Again, I'm going to go click right now under the frame. If you'll notice, when we bring up the frames, it goes through and it has key information for you, answering questions that most of you have. Jan, I know you did a great job with the video answering a lot of those. You're also going to find that you're going to find not only that, but you're going to look at part of the special they have for the current events that are going on. Like right now, this was a list of all the current promos that are Boxing Day and really part of the holiday season. So go ahead and dive into those. to look at all that's going on. So I think that's some good time we've got, and I'm seeing a lot of answers. These answers are all correct. So because this is Grace Canada, Jared, I'm letting you choose who you want to have as the winner of this, and I'll go ahead and we'll bring it up. And I hope I can bring it up. We'll see if we can find the name, and we'll put that on the screen. And then, again, remember, please, you'll need to reach out, and you're going to need to email info@graceframe.com, info@graceframe.com. Also know you can call 1-844-764-7223. And again, you can always find that at www.graceframe.com. So, all right, Jared, what's it going to be? What are we doing?
Well, I actually have a random selector here. So I'm using the random selector. That's what I've done for all the live people who called in. I selected them randomly. So get the random selector going and then see what I can find. And it looks like it is Christine Smith.
Congratulations, Christine Smith.
Well done, Christine.
Congratulations. With that, thanks for being with us all day today. Again, know that on the education platform, the one that we're also hosting from Grace Canada, come back to that because that's where you can get the free pattern. We'll keep that up through the end of the month, so you'll have access to those free patterns to rewatch those videos independently. And then obviously we'll be keeping these videos on Facebook and YouTube. Jared, again, thank you for being and hosting and allowing us to be a participant in the Grace Canada Boxing Day event. We've had a wonderful time. We hope all the quilters have had a wonderful time. And again, thank you for all the winners. Thank you, Christine Smith. Congratulations on winning that big combo. Reach back out to us. We know you're going to love the Cutie. Jared, any last thoughts from you as we kind of wrap up today?
No, thank you so much. I'm hopefully you viewers have enjoyed the presentations, and I hope you guys have a very Merry Christmas. Thanks.
Anything from you, Jana, as the last call here?
Thanks, everybody, for participating. And definitely tell your friends to come back and watch all the great videos that maybe they were at work or something and didn't get a chance to watch today.
Thank you. Appreciate it, everybody.
All right.